Welcome to Mindless Bullshit. I'm Jessi Milestone.
I'm Jeff Hicks.
And we are Mindless Bullshit.
What a great intro.
How inspiring, right?
I know. It's like an NPR radio show.
Hi,
I'm Terry Gross, and this is Fresh Air.
Not that bad. Come on, give us a break.
Fine. Was it Wait, Don't Tell Me?
Sure. Nathaniel Kadugan is here. It has been a while since he's been on one of my streams. He used to be the first person in every stream. So I've been well. How are you? Daniel T, the good Tom King. Jamie Golds, Daniel T. The good Tom King says, all hail the Phantom and his power couple.
Yes.
Jamie Golds loves tacos. Daniel T is excited for the movies. Dr. Coffin Nails, what's up? John Charles is excited for this power couple as well. Mary Mayhem just wants to sleep with both of us. I don't blame her.
I was like, wait, what?
She said, you sexy V's. T-Money Show, what's up? Shaney Entertaining, how's it going? Jeremy's Fake Hair, Kilroy Salt, Jason M, yours truly, Reese, what's up? Oh, Reese, I'll tell you about my nightmare. Bring back the good old days of YouTube. Japroof 1, Yoda, Yo, Megatron 95, Brett Lairmouth. What's up, guys? Welcome, all you early comers to the show. Reese, my nightmare last night was that the Eagles lost to the Jets. It was horrifying. It was with like a ridiculous score of like 81-70. I was like, no, that's what. Anyway. So yeah, Shane Entertaining. I watched his. He did this video. He did like a gajillion Star Wars impressions in 5 minutes or something like that, and it was really good. You know, they're not all 100% perfect, but the fact that he can do such a variety of them and so many different types of voices, and a lot of them were really spot on. It was really cool. So definitely check that out. But what are you laughing at?
Just the chat.
D-Money Show, Eagles beat the Packers in a pretty spectacular bloodbath, so I don't know what you're talking about. Jason M, calm your tits. Yeah, no problem, Shane. Guys, give him a sub, give him a watch. He's an interesting guy I've been seeing around. See him active around on Twitter a little bit now too. So yeah, just give him some love. So we're here today to discuss our favorite movies ever. Are you two in LA? No, if we were both in LA, we would be touching each other right now.
That is very true.
That's how you know we're not both in LA, because
soon we'll be both in Milwaukee.
That's true.
And we may do a stream.
We might.
We may review Joker or something. Who knows?
If we're feeling generous, we'll stream for you guys. Generous with our time.
You mean clothed?
It's what I meant. That's not going to happen a lot. I'm bringing like 2 outfits for the whole week.
Remember, it's going to be really cold there.
Yeah, I know. It's not going to be that cold. It looks like it's going to be like 65 in the day, like in the 60s in the day.
Well, the night will be cold.
I checked. Night will be chilly. Oh, thank you, YouTube. I'm live on my channel. Cool. Good.
I get those stupid emails too all the time.
I know, it's ridiculous. I don't get it. So the sad fact is that we're both going to wait about a week to see the Joker. Do you want to just go on Thursday night? Will we be able to get out of bed?
I was going to take you to dinner Thursday night, but I was like, I don't know. No, I don't know if we were going to
be able to get out of bed. We'll play it by ear. You know, it's not like Joker's going to be sold out. You know, by that point, it'll be a week.
Or pulled from theaters, hopefully.
I hope not.
Happened to the interview.
Yeah. I did watch that, though. I did watch that movie.
I didn't like it.
I really, really liked it in the beginning until it got plot-centric, and then it was dumb. But the opening, which the girl singing that song about like murdering Americans, fucking hilarious. Eminem coming out,
that was good,
amazing. And that brief shot of Joseph Gordon-Levitt shirtless with puppies was one of the greatest things I've ever seen. So they definitely hit some things. Horrorama says Milwaukee, land of blah blah blah. Sounds about right.
Cheese and beer, and I looked into getting you that chocolate Yingling.
Yeah, are we gonna make it happen?
Well, it comes out tomorrow exclusively at the brewery. They said it'll be out in specific states throughout the month of October, but we have a really good alcohol place in Kentucky, so I'm gonna go and find out if they have a date. If they have it up until the day I leave, I'll try to get it.
Okay.
If not, we'll just have it for Thanksgiving.
Otherwise, we'll say we'll just go to the brewery over there. That's actually, I've never done the Yingling tour.
Let's do it.
It's like a smallish, it's the shortest drive. I've just never done it. So Yeah. All right. So Bruce is in Louisville. We're gonna be in Louisville for 10 days next summer, so we'll do a meetup maybe.
That's gonna be fun. Summer Nationals it'll be different this year.
It'll be way different because I won't be abjectly miserable for the first 5 days. So
nah. But the last part was awesome.
Yes, it was.
And it took you a second. You're like, oh yeah.
The last day is my favorite part. All right, so we're gonna do our top 10 favorites. So I think we should start at the top of the list. Normally you go bottom to up, but I feel like our viewers know our top movies already, so it'll be more of a surprise to go the other direction.
Oh, okay.
Because our viewers, I think, are already pretty familiar with our top, couple. And then, John Charles, good choice, Whiplash. So are we doing the Miles Entertainment drinking game?
I don't have alcohol. Do you? Well, why am I asking you?
That's fine. I always prepared. Anyway, so no Miles Entertainment, fine. That's just terrible. It just cost me all the super chats. I'll
make it up to you somehow.
So yeah, so we'll go top to bottom. We'll go back and forth, and we'll talk about how we discovered when we first saw the film, why it's our favorite. We'll cross-reference our lists, see what we've seen of the others, what we like or dislike of the others. It'll be exciting. We want to know yours as well. Definitely pop in and share. If any of ours are on your top 10, let us know. Now, I don't know how firm your numbers are. For me, like 1 through 3 are pretty solid. 4 and 5 are fairly interchangeable. From 5 through 10, I'm not super married to the order as much. And then at 10, I'm actually still it's kind of a little still up in the air, so we can talk about that when we get there.
Well, for me, the first 4 are locked in. 5 and 6 are 5, 6, 7 are kind of interchangeable, but 10 is a tie. I couldn't decide which, and I'll tell you why I put those there when we get to the bottom of the list. But there's a reason.
A 9-10 tie or a 10-11 tie?
But make a 10-11 tie.
All right, I kind of have one too. So
okay, cool.
Jason M says first drink on me. I guess that means I'm drinking for you.
You are drinking. I am not including that movie on the list, Horrorama. I know what that is. Actually, I'm going to switch from Manischewitz back to... I have 2 bottles of wine accessible. I'm going to switch back to 19 Crimes. As long as it's not Josh, we're good. Uh-huh. So, what were your... First of all, before we get into it, what were your criteria for ranking your favorite? Is it the ones you've watched the most? Is it the ones that have the most meaning for you? The ones that have the most relevance? I don't know. What's your criteria? Well, I think we both have different ways we look at movies. For me, a movie has to be entertaining. I have to feel something when I watch it. So, well, I agree with that. I'm saying that's got to be number one. I don't care if it's, a widely praised movie, if people think it's one of the greatest of all time. I have to feel something towards the film. So that was my number one thing. Now, my favorite movie, everybody knows what it is. I've seen it a bunch. It makes me, it checks all the boxes, But to be on the list, I have to care about it. I own them all. That wasn't part of the criteria at all. But there's one on my list that I don't own. My family owns it, but I don't have a copy of it. Bit my lip, sorry. Yeah, it hurts. So, yeah, it just, I have to feel something. Not every film needs to be great. There are a couple honorable mentions that I really love, like a movie called Airheads. It's not the greatest movie ever made, but it's the perfect Saturday afternoon flick. It was on VH1's Movies That Rock. I've seen the movie probably 50 times. I hunted it down on DVD. I absolutely love it. So there are movies like that, and then there are more serious ones. So all right, just depends. Well, let's dive in. You want to go first? You go first because we can actually talk about your favorite movie because it's on my list at number 2. Okay, I mean, I know I've seen your favorite movie more than once. So, okay, my favorite is I said ahead of time, trilogies are going to count as one film. A real tight trilogy, I think counts as one because it's really I can pick one out of it if you make me, but for me it's the original Star Wars trilogy. Specifically, A New Hope is my favorite of the trilogy, but original Star Wars trilogy for me is number 1. It was temporarily overtaken by my number 2 at points, but largely has remained number 1 pretty solidly since I've seen it. And when did you first see it? I first saw it when I was around 5. I was in preschool. My parents just showed it to me, and my life changed. I feel like I was born that day. It really was
that important to me, you know. And then all of my childhood imaginary friends were Star Wars characters. I first freaking kindergarten was the first time where I was like, you know what? Maybe the dark side would be interesting. And so I started hanging around with Darth Vader. He was my new imaginary friend in kindergarten. Straight up, you know, for the beginning of, and this was interesting because I credit, you know, Star Wars for teaching me about morality. And like, I first started, I was, you know, Luke Skywalker is the man. And you know, because he's the paragon of what's good, and as cool as Han Solo is, he's still like, he's not the goodest guy, you know. And I'm a kid, I'm like, well, the good guys, so I want the good guys. And then but Han Solo was always secretly my favorite, and then not so secretly. And then it was like, well, let's explore the dark side. Maybe, you know, maybe that'll be interesting. Maybe like the powers in there's something here with the power that's fascinating and attractive. And it landed on Han Solo, which is the perfect shade of gray, of course. So, Kitten, Malcolm.
Well, for me, the first Star Wars movie used to be my favorite film, and I said this last night on our stream. Some of the alterations, some of the changes kind of knock it down, because when I watch a movie, I don't want to go, oh, this is this edit and this change and this, and it kind of takes me out of the story. Like, the reason my favorite movie is it just flows perfectly. It's very satisfying. I leave. Star Wars is almost perfectly satisfying. Part of the reason why it's so high on my list is because of history. You know, like, I was a little older when I got into Star Wars. I think I was 7. So kindergarten was Power Rangers. First grade was kind of like that superhero blow off. But then when I found Star Wars, it took over everything. It became my favorite movie. I had computer games, toys. If it existed with Star Wars on it, I owned it. I absorbed Star Wars. I read books about it, not just like EU books, like books about the movie, books about like the technical journals. You remember those?
Yep.
Everything. I had to absorb it. I remember seeing like an ad for a lightsaber replica. I was like, is that a real lightsaber? I gotta have it. You know, just stupid shit. I was so into Star Wars, and I got out of it a little bit, honestly, because of the prequels. Didn't like them. Got into other stuff, but found my way back. And once I found my way back, I've been a Star Wars fan more so than ever. So, why I like it more than I like The Empire and Jedi is because it's a complete story. Other ones are great, but at the same time, they're not a complete story. And that's paramount to me when it comes to judging a film. It has to be done. Like, I don't like, you know, oh, this is just one more chapter. Like, if you notice my list, you asked about qualifications. I don't have any superhero movies on the list because I don't think that's fair. I don't have any kind of series without, like, no James Bond movies, stuff like that, because it just, I don't know. I think it cheapens the list.
No, James Bond stands alone, though. Like, each one of those films stand alone.
Yeah, but then but here's my problem, because then I'm going to go, well, if I put GoldenEye on my list as a favorite movie, do I like these other James Bond movies more than I like these other movies? Then I'm just going to go, like, is it a favorite James Bond list? So I try to break the list apart to be more diverse and interesting to listen to us talk about.
That's fair. I just picked mine based on what I liked, and I didn't care if people find me interesting or not.
Well, I mean, if you want to hear me talk about James Bond, go to our Patreon. I cover every movie in 2-hour detail.
But I'm with you on that. If for me, a movie has to be complete, you know, which is why number 2 on my list is the one where I cannot pick out one from the trilogy. But and we'll get to that later. But yeah, I definitely for me, one of the appeals and the reason why A New Hope in high school became and remains staunchly my favorite is for that reason, is that it's a complete work. It tells a beautiful story arching from the beginning to the end. I don't have the same technical issues with you. I don't have I've seen multiple variations, you know, multiple of the re-edits and the changes, and from the, you know, the most glaring one of being the special editions and all that. And you know, I saw the special editions in theaters when they came out, which was exciting for me because it was my first time getting to see the original trilogy on a movie theater, on a movie screen. And while I don't like what they did with the special editions, it doesn't bother me or take me out of the story or diminish my experience of it. It's just something where it's like, ugh, this again. But I'm still so invested and so immersed in the story that it's. Yeah.
Well, we talked about, like, last night when we were talking about fidelity and 4K and stuff. I'm one of those people, like, when it comes to just visual things, like, so when it goes from model shot to CGI X-Wing back to model shot, it takes me out. It's because I know it. It's not like I looked up which scene's different. It's so obvious. It's like,
well, I don't like that either. I mean, like, when you get into Mos Eisley and there's all the CGI additions, those drive me
I
crazy.
hate that
Definitely take me out of it. Absolutely takes me out of it.
But that's how that's why it's not number 1, because I get the feeling like the Battle of Yavin, I still get pumped up every time. Like when they're in the trench and he's like, I have you now, and the music's swelling, and Han Solo comes back in to save the day, and Vader gets blown out and all that shit. It's awesome. Every time I watch it, I get the same reaction. Much like in my favorite movie, there's a specific scene that I always get the same reaction out of. So that's why I put these movies up, because they're so satisfying to me. When I leave, I'm happy.
I feel like your relationship with movies is similar to like my relationship with music. Like the way I get very emotionally invested in my films as well, but it's just like the way you rewatch things, like you rewatch a lot more than I do. I have friends who are like that too, and it's just, but for me, it's like there's some songs I can play over and over and over again, and they always elicit the same response, and they sort of put me in the same mood, the same mindset, and things like that. And I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, I think Jeff watches movies the way I listen to music.
Probably.
It's kind of interesting. So.
Yeah, I have probably seen the movies on my top 4 list 100 times each. Is probably conservative in Star Wars and maybe Back to the Future. I don't know if I've watched Back to the Future a lot, but I definitely haven't watched Beverly Hills Cop. Well, no, I haven't watched Die Hard 100 times, but either way. Let's see. You want to hear my number 1 now?
Let's do it.
All right. My favorite movie of all time is Back to the Future. I first discovered it, 1995, when McDonald's had the VHS tapes that they'd give away with a Big Mac meal. And my mom was like, pick a movie. And so earlier, she had let me get Wayne's World like years ago. So I was like, cool, I had Wayne's World. I loved that movie. Then I get to the Back to the Future, and I was like, my mom's like, pick this movie. It was that or Top Gun. And I picked that. Maybe that was the other time. Either way, I took it home. I watched it. I fell in love with it instantly. It's funny. It's the cool thing about Back to the Future, too, is it can never become dated. People say, well, it's a period. We talked about period piece movies. I'm not saying Back to the Future is, but it takes place in 1985. It was made in 1985. It can never be considered dated, or, it's trying to be a look back at the 1980s. It's what it was. It was made then. That's how it was. And that's just a small reason why I like it. But the acting's great. It's funny. At times, it's serious. I don't know if you'd consider it a sci-fi movie or a comedy movie, but
comedy.
I'm saying, but for whatever it is, I just love like when I was flying out to you in Vegas, I hadn't watched the whole thing in years. I'd watch clips or just not watch it much. And I sat on that plane. I was like, man, that was just perfectly satisfying. Like I still had time, but I remember sitting there going, yep, this is definitely still my favorite movie. And I love everything about it. Like when we talk about Star Wars, how I'm like, this little change or that little change I'd love to do. Now with Back to the Future, put it on, no complaints. There's nothing I would change about it.
I first saw it. I don't actually remember when I first saw it. It was one of those, and there were a lot that were like this. My parents were big on like having us watch all sorts of classics, from like old classics to like classics of them, more recent classics and stuff
Mm-hmm.
that they had recognized. So that was something for them where they were, fully adults and getting married and stuff at that point. But it was still like probably something my dad would have enjoyed, or something they recognized was a great movie that the kids all liked, or whatever it was. So I definitely saw it when I was young and was like, this is cool. And then it was one where, the next time I saw it, I think I was a teenager. And was like, okay, this is, sort of watch. It's one of those things you watch. You're like, I know I've seen this before, but I don't really remember it. And then you watch, like, oh yeah, this movie. I remember this stuff. So it's kind of that for me. And I like it. It doesn't, I love, blanking on his name.
Michael J. Fox?
No.
Christopher Lloyd?
Yeah, Christopher Lloyd. I love Christopher Lloyd. I love him in everything. I love him. And for me, that's like I feel like, he, as an older man, he plays the same character over and over again. And I feel like the version of that he is in Back to the Future is the most quintessential version of it.
Which version do you like, 1985 Doc or 1955 Doc? I just like how 55 Doc, once he meets Marty, he's like, I finally have something to live for, because he knows his time machine's going to work. And another thing that's different between us and movies, like dialogue, like memorable dialogue. And it doesn't have to be long speeches, anything epic to get you to laugh or to get you to be inspired. But like Back to the Future's got great dialogue, just the back and forth. The one-liners are great. So
I don't remember any of them.
Oh, hey, you get your damn hands off her's great.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to build a time machine. Why not do it with some style? All kinds of lines, I'm your density. Just like little bits like that. You could pick a random line from Back to the Future, and I'm going to know it. And I'm going to probably quote the next shit with you. So,
my problem with that film, for me, and it's just personal taste, I I don't like the plot point of, his mom having a crush on him. I think it's weird. It's icky.
That's why Disney turned it down.
I don't like situational comedy also. Like I've watched very few sitcoms. I'm not really big on situational comedy. Specifically like that kind of dramatic irony where it's like uncomfortable. Like I don't mind sitcoms, like situational comedy in certain cases, but like when it's like with that, where it's that uncomfortable, like, oh no, like when in comedies all the time where you have the thing where it's like somebody didn't tell the truth about something, and so this misunderstanding continues, and it's going to come out eventually, and that just makes me viscerally uncomfortable, and I don't like it in a way that I know a lot of people really get off, like, are into that. I just don't enjoy that at all. So that's just not something. Some people like that. It's like, oh, that made me feel something, even though it was a gross thing. And so, yay. For me, I'm just like, nope, that turns me off. I think
it's funny.
Gross and weird.
The expression she has when she kisses him, it's like, I'm kissing my brother. Because maybe you don't like that scene, and that's fine. I like it though because he interfered with himself being born. So, like, if you time travel.
Yeah, no, I get the whole, and I like that element. I like the way it influences his timeline and stuff like that. I just think it's disgusting.
Oh, it is disgusting. If he was into it, notice the whole time he's like, oh God, like she follows him because she has no clue. He's just a guy to her. He knows.
Yeah,
so but he's aware. He's just like, no.
It's still gross.
See, if they would have like hinted at it or made a joke about him being whatever, then I would have been like, I don't really like this movie as much. But because they kept it, pulled back, it was never really meant to be like defining his character.
Yeah, but at some point after this happens, she grows up, has this kid, and goes, wow, that looks a lot like that guy I kissed once upon a time.
To be fair, they met him he was there 1 week 30 years ago. I can't remember somebody I hung out with a couple months ago. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but there are some people like that I've met very briefly and known for a very brief period that had a lasting impact.
Some people, but not everybody. Because another thing too, if he had such an impact on them and he talked about naming their kid Marty, they named another kid Dave first, and then so I'm just saying, like, there was an impact, but I don't think they remember everything. Plus, we're not old enough to have had a 30-year gap where we met somebody. I mean, let's say the person you're talking about that had a huge impact on your life, you met 5 to 10 years ago, maybe 15 at the most, and you're still young. You haven't had a lot of experiences that his mom and dad would have lived through. So we'll see.
I still remember that one really, really cute camp counselor from almost 20 years ago. And I'm going to remember Jim forever, even though it was creepy because he was overly nice to me. And at the time I was like, yay, he pays attention to me. And now I'm like, he was 20, I was 11. That's weird.
That is weird and gross. But all I'm saying though is once that moment happened though, when she kissed him, like all the feeling went away.
Yeah, it doesn't make it better for me. She still kissed herself.
I'm not saying it makes it better for you. I'm just saying I don't think she really remembers the guy. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's still weird to me. I just don't like it.
It is weird. There's no denying that. That is a weird part of the movie, but it's my favorite movie.
It's allowed to be. But
yeah. That's
my one complaint. All right. My number 2 you haven't seen. My number 2 is Lord of the Rings trilogy. This one does not get separated. Do not pick out a single movie from this because the books were not written as a trilogy, right? The books were written as a book that for publishing purposes, he had to split into 3 parts. It's one continuous story beginning to end. Just for simple time, for the factor of time, you have to split it. But it's not like a normal trilogy where, this stuff happens in the first part and then this stuff. Like, it's really not, none of these are complete films in their own right at all. It really is part 1, part 2, part 3. Really nicely, really nicely paced throughout all 3 of the films. Epic, grand, beautiful, brilliant. I was having this whole discussion with my dad about it the other day because he was like, well, it must have been really expensive to go out and commit to all 3 of these and whatnot. And then you look at the budget and you break down the budget for these movies. And because it actually, the thing people don't realize is CGI is more expensive than practical effects almost across the board. Studio green screen CGI and everything in later is actually ends up being more expensive. There's a lot more technical difficulty associated with shooting something like Lord of the Rings, fully practically done. Obviously, you need giant swaths of land. You need things like they're working in New Zealand where a lot of this land is protected. There were things like they had to, restore a lot of pieces of land in its original quality. But at the same time, the richness of the world you create is something that, we discussed. I know you hate the 300, but as much as I enjoy that film, it will never have the groundedness that something like Lord of the Rings has, which is actually something that Star Wars has in common with it in a very different way. Because one's dealing with space, the other's dealing with nature. I mean, they're two very different, they're both bringing something somewhat foreign to life for you, but they're grounded in very different ways. And as someone who's always loved nature, outdoors, mountains, adventure, things like that, it really spoke to me in a way that just few things ever have. In some ways, it was possibly even, it's hard to say because it was like, I really wasn't a person yet before Star Wars. So Star Wars was very formative in that way. Lord of the Rings was just as, if not more formative for me. I first saw it, and I actually don't know if I read the books before seeing the film. I grew up on The Hobbit. My dad read that to me when we were kids. We grew up in the animated film. I loved it. So I had a basis for this universe. And so going to see The Fellowship of the Ring when it came out in theaters in 2010, that would have been? No, 2011.
What?
Huh?
What year The Hobbit came out?
Fellowship of the Ring.
2001.
Sorry, the 2001 is what I meant.
Oh.
I added too many. I added a decade. I forgot.
I'm going to start doing that to you now. I'm going to add decades to shit.
2001. So 2001, when I was 11, when I saw this film, it was totally transformed. I went to see it. That was the first time I think I'd ever seen a movie more than once in theaters. I saw it 3 times in theaters. And I had, so on IMDb back then, you could watch clips from the film. So from then until the movies came out and I could watch them, I watched those clips over and over again. I knew every line from them. I waited for the special edition box sets that came out almost a full year later, that had the little figurine come with it. So it was the Argonaut, the first one, Smeagol for the second one, and Minas Tirith for the third one. These things mean nothing to you.
I know who Smeagol is.
And yeah, so in the interim, I made my parents rent, the films for me so I could still watch them or go to friends' houses who owned the regular release and watch them. And it was just like, there was a point, I realized it's completely by accident because I just started quoting it once we were waiting in line, waiting for something, and started going through it and realized that I actually had the entire film memorized start to finish. And I could just stand there and recite every line of dialogue from the beginning of the film to the end, the extended edition. So yeah, I mean, I learned Elvish. My friends and I, Lord of the Rings role played. Like, it was incredible, just the way and just the attention to detail. I will firmly say that this is the best adaptation of a book ever. For me, there's just the attention that Peter Jackson had to the detail of the book. Because you're talking about one of the greatest literary works ever written. Tolkien was a genius. He was a linguist. He was a worldly and traveled man and a scholar, a brilliant writer. And I mean, you don't have to enjoy it. His prose are very dense. They're very flowery. But this is one of the greatest pieces of literature ever written. And to pay such respect to it, bringing it onto the screen, it wasn't perfect. Things changed. There were things that, to make it more palatable for an audience and whatnot. And like the Arwen Aragorn love story played almost no role in the Fellowship of the Ring. It comes out a lot more later on in the story and wasn't as relevant to the plot. They pull a love story in and whatnot. So the attention, I mean, little things like in Hobbiton, when he constructs Hobbiton in the beginning of the film, right? He picks this out of the entire landscape because there's the tree that's described as the party tree in the books, and he just visually sees that next to the lake and all that. And he goes in, and there's a bunch of fruit trees already there, which is perfect because there's all these fruit trees described. Johnny Pete, Farmer Maggot is actually in it. The farmer was in No Farmer Maggot is in the Farmer Maggot is not in the books or in the movie. Yeah, correct. But anyway, little things to drive the plot and move it along, etc. Tom Bombadil's omission is definitely one of the things I would have liked to have seen back in. But at the same time, that raises a lot of questions about the plot, because Tom Bombadil, you can't really do him justice in the film. But anyway, so he creates Hobbiton, and the fruit trees in this place, in this set that he's decided on, aren't the right fruit trees. So he picks all of the fruit off these trees and gets wax models of the correct fruit and wires them all on the individual trees, just so that the trees in the background of these shots will be the correct trees from the books. I mean, that's the level of dedication that he had. We've issued Jetro Johnson is buffering like crazy. Is anyone else having a buffering issue? If not, if it's just you, try refreshing or rebooting. Is anyone else having a buffering issue? Anyway,
we're playing okay on mobile.
Okay, cool. Other people saying it. Jeff returned to AK Mega Jetty 1. Hi, thank you for the super chat. It says hello there, permission to come on as a guest. Not today, Mega Jetty. Other streams, yes. This one, Mindless Bullshit, really is just a Jeff and me stream. We're going through our top 10 films today, so we're kind of going to keep this flow going. No one else having issues. That's good to know. Thank you for letting me know. We haven't ever discussed doing guests. This is kind of just like our thing, the us thing. So other shows, definitely, I'd love to have guests. Love to have guests on with Jeff and with me and all that. So yeah.
Well, I will watch.
Still waiting for an epic gay porn version of Lord of the Rings. While you're waiting for the visual, just visit Library of Moria, the most extensive online collection of written Lord of the Rings porn. And that was my friend introduced me to that at far too young of an age and scarred me for life. Hooray! So
anyway, real quick, Will Gentry, to jump back to your message. No, he says, yeah, but did that person you knew for a week basically make the two of you get married? That would be something you wouldn't forget. Remember in the movie, they say it's Biff that got them together. Because Biff's out there waxing the car. He goes, oh, that Biff. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be together. So they only remember Biff. It kind of takes care of itself in the movie. That's another point, or another thing that's important for me in movies, when it's all explained in the film. Something I dislike about Star Wars, and you got to read 12 books and, all this other shit to get, that's part of the story. That's who that character is. Whatever.
You dislike about Star Wars?
Well, yeah, it's like, when people make the excuse like nowadays, especially with the Disney stuff, it's like,
well, the Disney ones, yeah, I don't think you need that for the original.
Oh, no. I'm just talking like modern day Star Wars shit.
Yeah, no, the sequels, exactly. No,
some of the prequel stuff had it though too, but that doesn't mean I dislike it for that.
I think the prequels had some of the same issues as the sequels did, in which, like, if you read that additional material, it made them suck a little less, but you shouldn't need that.
Thank you, Obi-Wan. You know what's up.
Okay.
So for me, my second favorite movie is Star Wars, just the first one. There was a time where I only called it Star Wars, but now A New Hope is how I'll identify it, just for whatever. There really isn't too much more to say about the impact. We've talked about it on the channel. I've talked about the impact of Star Wars on my life. I found it through a book, like not a novelization, but an actual, like, a big picture book that told the movie in detail. And I read this book at somebody's house, like, this sounds like the greatest thing ever made. So I got really excited, and my mom's like, we can rent the movie. And my mom hates Star Wars. She hated it back when it first came out. She was in high school. She's like, I hated that movie, but you can rent it. So that was cool. Then she bought me all the toys. Every week she bought me a new Star Wars figure. And then, like, the first Christmas I was into it, I got all the shit. So it was cool. It was one of those things that I didn't just get into it a little bit. I got into every part of it. And it consumed my life for a couple years, and it was a very happy time in my life. I really don't know what else to say. It's a great movie. I'm a huge fan of it, and you guys have heard me talk about it in great detail. And that's one thing I like about our relationship. We both love that movie so much. Like, when I was sick, you're like, let's just watch Star Wars. I'm like, okay. And I sat there and tried to eat soup, and you kept me warm, and we watched Star Wars. So
my dad waited in line to see it when it came out, when the first one came out, and I actually never asked, because my parents would have met somewhere between, I don't know if they've met by Empire, but they would definitely have known each other by Jedi. I've never asked if they ever, like, went to one of them on a date. I'd be curious to know. My dad loved them. My mom, I think, is fine with them. But I mean, she certainly has watched them with me a million times when I was a kid. They were on a lot. I watched them over and over again, to the point where, so the VHS collection that I had, what's it called? The face. Yeah. So when you put it in, one of the first thing that happens is, it's the launching the escape pod
for one last time.
For those who remember, for those who will never forget, and for those experiencing it for the first time. That's And that, when I hear that, like, I still get like that's my cue to get excited about Star Wars. Jeffrey Turner, aka Mega31, thank you for your super chat. Has Jeff seen my stream with you and Rosetta Allen? I don't know. I
have
let him
not
know
yet.
that it happened. It's really fun. You should check it out.
I will check it out. Maybe I'll listen to it when I'm driving up to Milwaukee next week.
Malcolm. So you can hear my voice before you see my face.
Yeah. I mean, if it wasn't going to be you on, well, yeah, because it's a day. I'm going up a day before you, which kind of, it's necessary but sucks. But whatever. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's anything to add about Star Wars. Sorry, folks. I mean, the one thing I didn't like about your release of Star Wars was how it had the Leonard Maltin George Lucas interview at the beginning.
You had to fast forward through it every single time.
So when I rented Star Wars as a kid, I make sure I would rent the old CBS Fox video release, even though it was shittier picture quality, just so I didn't have to watch that.
I would usually just fast forward.
I didn't own Star Wars until the special editions came out.
Okay.
Yeah, my mom's like, because I got into it at 96, and so my aunt took me to see the special edition of A New Hope, and I had the toys and stuff and the games, and my mom's like, when the new ones come out on tape, I'll buy them for you. And she took me the very first day to Media Play and got me Star Wars special edition on VHS, and I watched those. I used to watch Star Wars, rewind it, watch it again, like every Sunday. It was my day for Star Wars. So,
the good Tom King says, "Is that the hero of Canton?" No, this is the captain who aims to misbehave. It is
so,
not.
Do we want to go next on the list?
Sure. All right. So my number 3, is Gladiator. And what?
I said I've seen this.
I know you haven't seen it in a while, so I'm bringing it to Milwaukee. So I first saw Gladiator. Probably it would have been shortly after it got released, on VHS DVD. I think we were just about the beginning of the DVD era then. Because that was, what year did that come out? Was that 2000 that it came out?
Yep, 2000, because it won the Oscar, I believe.
Yeah. And so my dad had it on TV in the family room, and I was too young to watch rated R films at this point. So I snuck into the family room, and I could curl up next to the arm of the couch where he couldn't see me. And I sat there. I missed the beginning, so it was actually a while until I saw the beginning of the film. But I think I came in, so I didn't have a lot of context for what had happened and why he was where he was, because I came in at the, I'm trying to remember, was the first gladiatorial fight or the second one? I think maybe it was the first one. I think it was the first one. So when he's maybe it was the second one. I can't remember if it's the one where he's chained to Jaimin Hansu's character, or if it's the one where it's just him fighting the 5 guys in the animal masks. But so it was a bit of the ways into it. But I caught on to what was going on. I missed all the prelude, but I caught on to what was going on, that he had this conflict with this, with Commodus, and they'd known each other from something, and I may have known something about the plot too. So I sat just transfixed and watched the rest of this entire movie. A lot of times I would sneak in, I'd watch a little bit of something my dad was watching, and then go before I got caught. And this was like, I'm gonna risk it all because I need to see this, and watched it through to the end, and was just completely transfixed by it. And so as soon as I was allowed to watch it, I was like, I need to watch this movie. I don't remember exactly when or how it happened, but so I don't even remember when I watched it the first time through, like from beginning to end. I just remember that and how much it affected me. That was also, it was like swords. I was so totally enraptured by the swords. That was when I was like, I need to swords. I had gotten my number 4 movie is the reason that I was interested in sword fighting at all, and why I really wanted to learn how to fence. But then I saw Gladiator, and I was like, this is what I need in my life. That for me, when Ridley Scott is always like, his misses when he makes a film that's just not that great. It's like a few mistakes away from being perfect, from being genius. But when he nails it, when he really gets a film, it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. It's just like there's every moment has meaning, every scene has purpose, every word, every shot, every choice. And that's something I appreciate about Ridley Scott, his filmmaking method, because I love character and story. And I'm interested. I'm interested in watching, in fun cinematography and pretty shots and visuals and stuff like that. One thing I actually enjoy a lot about Ridley Scott is that he doesn't do that. It's all very basic standard shooting, and everything is about what goes into those shots. The composition is perfect. The pacing is perfect. The movement from one scene, the transitions are perfect. It's just everything about it. And so when you get to the end, every single time, it's one of those films where every single time I know it's going to go wrong at the end, his escape plan, and every single time I'm rooting for it to go right. I'm like, maybe this time it'll be different, even though of course it's going to be the same. And early on when I watched the film, the ending, and it still doesn't make me sad. The ending has never made me sad. I cry now because I cry for happy things now too. But the ending of that film never made me sad. It was the first time the main character, dies at the end. And I was like, this isn't sad. This is beautiful. He's accomplished his mission and he's being reunited with his wife and his son. And like, that was just, it was so impactful. And then moments in that film thank you, Obi-Wan. Moments in that film, his first speech to Commodus, when Commodus finds out who he is, it gives me chills every time. The first, specifically from the moment he takes off his helmet and turns around. And then it was, and it's actually funny. There were moments I had moments like that. And one of the reasons that resonated with me is I was a very rebellious child. And a lot of it was things where I would get into trouble because I wouldn't bite my tongue. I'd be upset about something that I thought someone was doing wrong, like usually a teacher, an adult, whatever it was. And I thought they were doing something unjust. And I wanted to call them on it. I knew I was going to get in trouble for it. I knew I was going to get, punished for doing it. But I would take that moment and sort of like muster up and decide I'm doing this and stand my ground and say the thing I wanted to say, and consequences be damned. And so when he does that, I related to that moment. I was like, that's how I feel in those moments. And obviously his has a much, much greater impact, but things like that. And then just little moments. One of my favorite lines in that film is, "The time for honoring yourself will soon be at an end, Highness." It's just like, everything in that film just gives me the fifis, start to finish. And every character is great. I mean, it's like they have focused on so few people. There's so few relevant characters, but each and every one of them is perfect. You have Proximo, who's, and also like, and the whatchamacallit, the cast, like Oliver Platt as Proximo, is just brilliant. Joaquin Phoenix was the first character that I just loved to hate so deeply. But anyway, Hammer, I disagree that Gladiator is his last great film. I think the Martian was a really great, truly great film as well. I love Alien and Blade Runner as well. They don't affect me emotionally in the same way. I think Alien's an amazing movie. It doesn't affect me emotionally in the same way. But anyway, so that's Gladiator.
I saw Alien and Blade Runner at weird times in my life where I really don't like them that much. I own them both on Blu-ray. Alien's fine. I like Alien a lot more than I like Blade Runner, but I prefer Aliens.
Aliens is more fun.
That's what I want. I'm not. Look, it was meant to be Texas Chainsaw Massacre in space. I get it, but I don't really get any kind of emotion out of the movie. Like, I've watched it. I'm not scared.
I love the suspense in that one. I absolutely love the suspense in the first one.
If I would have seen that coming out of the gate in 1979, I would have been on board with you. But because I know the xenomorph, but because I know who H.R. Geiger is, or Giger, and the design and what it looks like, it's kind of like the suspense is gone for me. So it's like, I know that it's a tall black dude in a suit. Like, I can't remove myself, because I like the production of the movie a lot, actually, because I love sci-fi stuff, and I think the story of Alien's way more interesting than the movie for me. But
for me, it's the I just lost my train of thought on it. Actually, that's what it is. So I first learned about Alien in a really weird way, which was uh, I I was like 12, I think, when we went to Disney World for the first time. I think it was like 11. I think it was young. I think it was 11. We went to Disney World for the first time down in Florida, and they had that like the
Alien encounter.
No, I don't even. I mean, we might have done that. I think we might have. I think we did that, but but just before we did that, there's the movie tours, like the great movies.
Yeah.
Like the bit where you go through part of the spaceship from Alien, and there's the acid spit dripping down and all that. And then I think we did and so I from that, and that may be why I was like, let's do the Alien encounter. Was because I was like, what is this? And they're like, well, this is Alien and this is that, and the Alien encounter is related and all that. So I learned about that from going to Disney and sort of experiencing it, doing the immersive experience in that way. And so then I was really intrigued, and I was like, well, I want to see this now. So I saw it when I was still young enough for it to be, frightening, I guess, or suspenseful. And it's also just beautifully shot. Again, Ridley Scott there's nothing he does that's cinematically groundbreaking or earth-shattering or particularly experimental, but it's just beautifully shot.
Another thing you got to take into account with me is I grew up with a single parent who hates movies and TV shows. Yeah. So it's like it's all self-discovery. My mom's not going to say, like, the only reason I found out who Indiana Jones was is because my dad, who had died years ago, had a copy of Temple of Doom and Blade Runner. And so after getting into Star Wars, I was like, oh, Harrison Ford, this is my favorite actor. Loved Indiana Jones, watched Blade Runner as a kid. I was like, this is boring. Obviously, I was 7. So I went back to it as an adult, bought the deluxe Blu-ray, watched all the cuts. To me, my problem with Blade Runner is it's every robot story, and I'm just simplifying it, is the same. What is it to be human? And it's been told so many times, and I don't like that story in any format. What's the popular, like, there's like Twilight Zone episodes that do it a little better because I like the Twilight Zone. It's very short.
Like iRobot or
again, those are just movies that exist. If you love them,
Terminator. I mean, even Terminator kind of has that a little bit, but it's an action film, so it's a little more fun.
I don't know if the first Terminator has that at all.
No, the first one doesn't have
Terminator 2, when he says, I know now why you cry, but it's something I can never do, then maybe I could see that. But I don't think that's what the story is about. It's
not what it's about. It's definitely
Blade Runner is about that. iRobot's about that. I just don't like that story ever. Like if you put all my favorite actors and everything together and made that story in a different way, I'd still be like, I don't fucking like this. So I'm just being honest with all my stuff.
I love this episode of The Orville because they tackle a problem that usually would be solved with what does it mean to be human. And I think that's very trite too. I think that there are ways you can do that are good. And like you said, things like Twilight Zone, it's when you're exploring it from a slightly different approach. I can buy it a little more. I can stomach it a little more. I agree with you. I think it's a very trite, very boring theme. But the way that they do it in this episode, like they don't do it particularly. They solve the problem because there's a problem that, like, again, the obvious solution is, well, the robot learns to be human, and they solve it in a way that's not that. That's so fucking good. I was blown away by it.
We'll watch it together when I'm out there.
Yeah. That for me, that episode, there's a bunch of episodes where I've seen where I'm like, this is great. This is why the show is great. This is why it has a great cultural impact. This is why it's important. This is why it matters. This is why it's bipartisan. All this stuff. That was the episode where I was like, this is why the show is fucking genius. Anyway. So let's get some of the super chats. Obi-Wan says, bigger impact, Team America or Idiocracy? I actually still haven't seen Idiocracy.
Ooh, then you're watching that with me. I own that.
Okay.
That'll be something experience.
Team America. I don't think Team America was necessarily an impactful film.
I'd say it's more impactful than Idiocracy because I don't think Idiocracy is that widely known, and everybody knows America. Fuck yeah! So I know that's something small, but it's still something from the movie that everybody knows.
Yeah, but a lot of people that I know who've seen Idiocracy have a bigger, sort of a more visceral response to it.
That's how I am too. I don't like Team America actually at all. I saw that when it was new.
Really?
I don't like this movie. I saw it as a kid. I used to like South Park. I think I talked to my mom into either taking me to see it or renting it for me right away on DVD. And I don't think I was allowed to see it when it came out. Or maybe my parents were just like, this is stupid. We don't want you to watch or whatever it was. And so I was at a friend's house and
and it was like on what was the thing before you could just rent movies on your television, like
Pay-per-view
or something. It was like on demand, you know. And so we bought it or rented it or whatever on that, and like the unrated version, and watched it, and we're just cracking up, just dying watching it. So I love that movie. I absolutely adore that movie. I think it's great. I think it's it's absolute genius. But
it's fine. I just don't like it at all. Like I'll never be like, hey, we should really go get a copy of Team America World Police.
That's fine. I already own one.
Oh, good.
I already own it. So
I and Idiocracy. We'll bring those together, and Obi-Wan Super Chat will come true.
I bought I did not buy the unrated version. I think I bought the regular theatrical release on purpose because I was like, the only things that the unrated version has is the throw up scene is even longer, and the puppet sex is even weirder. It gets into like them pissing and shitting on each other. And so I'm like, I don't need this. I can enjoy this movie just fine without these things. So Jeffrey Turner, aka Megajetty1, says, tagged you in a tweet for my favorite Halloween. Cool. Thank you, Megajetty. Anyway, so Dr. Coffin Nails says, don't like Team America. You're breaking my heart, Jeff. Mine too, Dr. Coffin Nails. Mine too.
Mm-hmm. I don't even know how we're still together.
It's a miracle to me. As long as you accept the soundtrack into your life.
Yeah, the songs are funny as shit.
Good.
I love the other one about the montage, and there's like 3 of them that I know.
I like ham, I like rain, I like you. You're right here, you're with me, so you'll do. One of the most romantic songs ever written. It's great.
Yeah. I actually like the stuff that it's based on, the that Super Marionette Thunderbird show from the 60s.
Oh, I never watched that.
We should watch that. I got a streaming service that provides that. It's really dated and really hokey, and you might be like, this is mildly racist.
Okay.
It was the 60s too, but you know.
I'm fine. I can live with that.
Cool.
Oh, yeah, I'm so Ronry. So Ronry. So Ronry and sad rear road. There's no one, just me only, sitting on my little throne. Anyway, so you've seen Gladiator. When did you first see Gladiator?
Oh God, 2001. So at the end of 2000, at Blockbuster, they had a special. If you signed up for DirecTV, they gave you a year's free of rentals every week. So we got a satellite at the end of 2000. And I remember we just would rent movies every week because it became a chore to rent a movie every week because I didn't want to. So my mom and I rented Gladiator and watched it. And I remember just thinking it was good. Like, I just don't remember it. Like, I remember watching it. I could guarantee that I've seen it, but it was 18 years ago. So I don't necessarily remember it like you do. Plus, I know how it's parodied and stuff like that. So I'm up on the story. I'll watch it. That's something that you want us to watch that I'm like, yes, let's watch it.
There's also one shot in the DVD release where you can see the DVD release cleaned up. You could see in the VHS release, you can see the CO2 tank they used. Might have been a hydraulic tank to I think it was a hydraulic tank to flip one of the chariots. And you can still see in the DVD release, there's one part where you can see like maybe a camera or crew guy, might be a guy with a camera because he's to get another angle because he's walking backwards. You can just see him under the neck of a horse, but you can see he's like clearly wearing jeans.
See, now that's the time I'm okay when they go back and alter a movie from the theatrical release, like something small like that. It's like you're like, I want exactly what it was. It's like,
yeah, no, they're covering up just mistakes, you know.
Yeah, covering up a mistake is not a big deal for me. So like if they were to go back and do another edit of Star Wars where they took out like matte boxes and stuff like that, I don't really see how people could complain.
All right, so what's your number 3?
My number 3, you talked about characters. My third favorite movie is Die Hard. Now, people are like, Die Hard? You always talk about Beverly Hills Cop. Look, I love Beverly Hills Cop, but I like it for different reasons, more personal reasons. I enjoy action movies. There are a lot of dumb action movies. Then there are some overly intense, realistic, I don't know if I call them thoughtful action movies, like Heat. Heat's a great movie. That's a much better made movie than 99% of all action movies. But to me, Die Hard is my favorite because you have great characters across the board. Everybody from the lead, McClane, the villain, Hans Gruber, all the German terrorists have little bitty personality traits about them. You have guys like Argyle, who actually has a full character arc. Sergeant Al Powell, who's on the ground. Again, Reginald Val Johnson, great actor, who has a complete character arc. Every person that's in the movie has purpose, and they're all entertaining. It's like when you watch Star Wars, General Tag or all the people, the dude that got choked on the Death Star, he's in one scene and he's done. In Die Hard, all these people have reoccurring moments. The Johnsons, everybody, and that's mainly the reason why Die Hard's so high on my list. I like the story. It's a basic story, but it has some layers to it. First layer is he's at this Christmas party. It's taken over by German terrorists. They're going to rob the vault. Cool. But then there's the story about how Hans Gruber wants to double cross and fake the death. And there's the story about Holly and John and their marriage and how they're on the rocks. There's just all these different things that makes it interesting. It's not basic like Commando where it's my daughter's kidnapped, I'm going to save her. There's just a lot going on. It's quotable. Again, that's really important for me in a movie. If I can sit with my friends and talk about, oh my God, the quarterback is toast, and we chuckle, it's a big deal to me. So it's enjoyable. I love it. The music's fine. It's my favorite Christmas movie. The action is great, violent, which is what an action movie should be. And it's funny. It's vulgar as shit. I hate, when you watch like a Die Hard on TV. It's just not to be watched on TV.
No, you can't. You just can't.
No, it's my third favorite movie. I discovered it technically. I was in the womb when my mom saw it in the 80s. I was there because it was July of 88. I was born in October, and my mom's like, we saw this in theaters. I'm like, okay, well, there we go. So I was there. But no, I first discovered it on Fox Movie Channel about like 11 or 12 years old, and they would play it on repeat, and it had like the little movie facts underneath. So I'd watch it, and then I'd watch the movie facts. And then when I was in high school, I was home on a Saturday night, and I was reading Wikipedia. I was like, man, I really want to watch Die Hard. So I went out and bought it right away. And, it's just stuck with me.
I don't know when I first saw it. It's one of those that I just like, I don't remember actually seeing it for the first time. I just remember it like kind of always being there, It's definitely one that I've gone back and rewatched for Hans Gruber because I remember specifically shortly after Alan Rickman died, I was like, oh, I'm going to pay tribute to him. Let's watch Die Hard.
Good choice.
Because it's great. I mean, it's such a phenomenal. I love villains too. So I love that movie has a unparalleled one of the greatest villains. So
yeah, he's as interesting as John McClane, if not more interesting.
Absolutely. I think I would argue a little more interesting. John McClane's is surprisingly multidimensional for an action hero, but Hans Gruber just takes the cake. McClane is interesting enough that you want to continue following through other movies, but that's why, like, as fun as some of the sequels are, why they'll just never be the first one it's Hans Gruber. So
I mean, you've never heard me say a good word about Die Hard 2, have you? No. I hate Die Hard 2. 3, that's fun.
I like 3 better than 2. 2's fine. I don't care about 2, but the wrong gal here finally caught a live stream. What's up? Welcome. Oh, and someone was asking, the hero of Canton is right here. Hero of Canton for you.
Cat they call Jane.
The cat they call Jane. Yes, kitten of Canton. Yes.
Hi, Jane.
Can you say hi to Papa? He's like, nah. Let me go so I can play with toys.
I'll see you in January. Remember me.
Right? You're so big, too. You'll be even bigger.
Well, realistically, I don't really have too much more to say about Die Hard, but it's been something that like all my friends have enjoyed. Like somebody like Joel, who's way older than I am, and we both like that movie. It's something that we've connected over too. So just, kind of the perfect action movie for me.
It's also the best Christmas movie.
Yeah, I really do like Christmas Vacation and A Christmas Story, but I think Die Hard's a better movie. Die
Hard's my favorite Christmas movie.
Good, we'll watch it every Christmas together.
Sounds good.
We'll probably watch Die Hard, not all the time, but like if you're ever gone, Die Hard will come on a lot.
You know what my traditional Christmas movie watching was? 007 Days of Christmas on Spike TV.
Same here. And then I got the DVDs, so what I would do is I would see that like Live and Let Die was on at like 4:00. I'd put the DVD on at 4:00, and then I'd watch the whole movie without commercials. And then it's like, next is Thunderball. So then I wait for Thunderball to start putting the DVD, and then just do it myself because I don't have to watch commercials.
You're such a dork.
Yeah.
Now the chat, of course, is going back and forth as to whether Die Hard is actually a Christmas movie.
It's definitely a Christmas movie. It takes place on Christmas. It has Christmas music.
Themes.
Yeah, it has Christmas themes.
Coming home to your loved ones. Like, it's all, what more do you want in a Christmas movie? It's a family.
I mean, it wasn't released in December or November. Oh, no, it was released in July. It's still a Christmas movie.
It's a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So my number 4, people were discussing this film actually earlier. My number 4 is The Princess Bride.
That's a great movie.
It's only, and it's tough. Like I was saying, my number 3 is pretty clear. My number 3, like honestly, it could surpass Gladiator at times. I mean, Gladiator I think is a technically better film. Just part of that is budget and when it was made. But for me, I mean, so The Princess Bride, another hugely transformative one. I saw that I was probably about 6, or so when I saw it for the first time. I think it was in kindergarten. I might have been in first grade, so 6 or 7. And we rented it, and I watched it, and then I watched it again, and then I made my parents buy it for me, and then I watched it every day, like for an entire week. And I was like, this is everything. I was too young to really have crushes, but like to really know what that was. But Carrie Ellis as Wesley was definitely like my first movie crush. And I saw the movie. I was like, fencing that's what I learned what fencing was, and I wanted to do it immediately. I was like, that is what I want to do. Inigo Montoya. I talk about a quotable movie. I tried to do a drinking game to that once, where I was like, you know what, drink for every memorable quote, and you're just literally drinking the entire movie. 90% of that film is just.
Was it about land war in Asia or something? We could drink to that one.
Hi, you fell victim to the most classic blunders. The most well-known is this: don't never get involved in a land war in Asia, but only slightly less well-known. Never go in with the Sicilian when death is on the line. Ha! Anyway, so
I am really happy that this is so high on your list because I love The Princess Bride.
Dude, so I own it on DVD.
I got it on Blu-ray. I'll bring it out.
All right. I loved it. I just it's just everything. It's everything. It's perfect. It's flawless. The one thing that hasn't aged well is Buttercup as your female lead. She is truly pathetic. And this is not even just from like an anti-feminist, like, oh, she's a damsel in distress. Like, she's really pathetic. She's pretty stupid. She has conviction occasionally. Like, she gets better towards the end when she like actually, stands up to Humperdinck and stuff. And you're like, okay. But for me, one of the moments of like Wesley's literally being mauled to death by a rodent of unusual size, and then she just like falls over. Like her dress gets bitten, so she falls over and then literally can't do anything to help him. And you're like, bitch, like show up with that giant log you got and beat it off of her, but just nothing. Useless woman.
Well, you know how much I like this movie because my dad's in it, so
of course, obviously. Yeah, this business where they're talking about rebooting it is disgusting. Why would you do it? There's no reason. It's completely because they're gonna do something to make it like super woke and give Buttercup.
It's not gonna get remade.
It can't. It just can't.
It's like Back to the Future. There's no reason to remake it.
There isn't. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing because that's the thing. It's still appealing enough, because it's fantasy. I think that's so this is one of the few fantasy films you like, huh?
Yeah, a lot actually.
Wow.
I think I like more 80s fantasy movies than like more the modern day stuff. I actually don't like
Willow fan too.
I hate Willow. Ugh. I had a cereal bowl with Willow on it. I refused to eat out of it as a kid.
I was fine. It's not my favorite or anything. I've watched it like a couple of times.
If Val Kilmer's not playing Batman or Christopher Knight, a genius, I don't want to watch him.
Yeah, I mean, so there's a timelessness about it. There's a campiness that was that the filmmakers were aware of even at the time. That makes it, that gives it a timelessness that it's not dated at all. And that's it's easy for fantasy to not be dated because it doesn't exist in your world. So it's not like we've moved on beyond the technology. Like that's old, it's medieval anyway. And it's all like it's practical effects and stuff. And it reminds me like the way it's styled and shot. You probably never saw like 12 Dancing Princesses or something. That movie, oh, it's adorable. Very similar, like acting style, character style, just like visual style. It yeah, so I really enjoyed. I mean, it doesn't get stale. You can watch it over and over and over. I still can watch it over and over and over again.
Cool. I hope that's one that you choose to watch a lot. I
Yeah,
will never be like, if you're like, Jeff, what do you want to watch? Mission Impossible 2 or The Princess Bride? I'm always going Princess Bride. Just saying.
that's fine.
I'm just, being nice. But I want to say about The Princess Bride, I caught that early as a kid. We used to have, so Sundays, usually my mom would work, so I was home by myself. And like our local channel, 64, would always show movies. And anytime they would show The Princess Bride, I was happy because I knew that the kid from the Wonder Years was in the beginning. That's how I recognized it right away. And I just liked the story because I had seen Robin Hood Men in Tights first. So Cary Elwes was just the Robin Hood guy to me. I didn't know his fucking name. And then Andre the Giant, you just knew who Andre the Giant was. So you, at any point in my life from probably 6 years old or 10 years old on, I don't know, somewhere in that 4-year gap, you put that movie on, I'd be like, cool. And I liked it enough that I had to buy it on a Black Friday one year.
Hooray.
So there we go.
The good Tom King says, all hail the Phantom and his power couple. Thank you.
Thank you.
People are asking why you're in the dark.
You can still see me.
Uh-huh.
I'm illuminated by candlelight.
Okay.
There we go. Here's some more light. I'll just open up my window. How's that better? There we go. It's better.
Anyway. Actually, it's not because it just washed out your face but didn't really illuminate any of your surroundings. So.
Well, we'll go back to darkness.
You could just turn on a light.
I'm not getting up right now.
Wow.
Anyway, I want to keep going.
Wow.
What? What? You know what I look like.
It's not for me.
I got the audience. You know what everyone knows me as?
You're the one who's obsessed with the visual quality of the visual picture quality. Turn
of a
on
movie.
The light.
There we go.
Mark C says, I see your Princess Bride and raise you my number 4, Captain Blood. Excellent choice. Great fencing in that one, too.
Never seen it. Never heard of it.
It's an old Errol Flynn. Did you ever watch any old, like...
Did he play Robin Hood once?
Yeah.
I've seen that. Like, it's in color.
Yeah.
But it's like really old.
It was color, yeah. We should watch some old Errol Flynn films. They were a lot of fun.
He was kind of a piece of shit in real life.
Yeah, but he's also a fun movie fencer. Actually, Basil Rathbone is the better fencer, but
didn't he play Sherlock Holmes?
Yeah, he was. So this was the thing. So at the time, that was considered sort of a B adaptation of it. So Basil Rathbone always played like the villain or the B movie guys, even though he was a much more talented fencer and a very good actor too. And he won. There was a famous quote of him arguing with Errol Flynn, and it's like, why? How come you're always the hero and I'm always the villain, even though I can out fence you any day? And Errol Flynn said, because I have the nicer thighs. And he's not wrong. Chris Clark, I do have an Amazon wish list for my kittens. I can grab that for you. I was going to put it on last night because my kittens need things and I'm broke. So.
I don't have one because I don't know. We have a P.O. box. If you want to send us something, go ahead.
But I do have my kittens list.
So while you're doing that, do you want me to pull up my number 4 and talk about that?
Yeah, are we done with the Princess Bride? I think we're done with the Princess Bride.
We both love it. There's really not much more to say.
Great, we'll watch it all the time.
I really am cool with that.
I'm going to post my... Here's my... All right. If you want to know what I like or need or want, there you go. This is my kittens. Support my kittens. That's what I need. Want, like, need, etc. I think you should get up and turn a light on because it really doesn't take that much energy.
Okay.
Wow. All right.
I would have turned the goddamn light on. Chill. I wasn't leaving.
Okay. Tyler Preston says Kill Bill Volume 1 is one of my faves, and it was my very first R-rated action movie. I actually hate both the Kill Bills. I get why people like it. I respect people who do. I respect its merit as for what it is. I just personally really, really don't like it. Ha! Dr. Alex, great fact. Flynn also used to stick a length of hose down his tights to increase his standing, so to speak. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all.
Better?
Infinitely. Was that so difficult?
Not at all. I just didn't really want to.
You know what, Jeff? Sometimes you do things because you want to. Sometimes you do things because you have to.
I didn't have to turn on the light. I could see just fine. Anyway.
But it increases the visual quality of this stream.
I'm only on camera because you want me to be.
Because it makes sense for us to both be. It's weird if I'm just talking to a circle.
Okay. Anyway, you want to keep? There you go.
What's your number 4?
Beverly Hills Cop. This movie, everyone's like, "Is that your favorite movie?" No, I talk about it a lot. It's fun. It's simple. It's a quick movie. That's another trait that I have, or something about a movie that I enjoy. Let me look at my list real quick. I think the longest film on my entire list might be number 6 or Star Wars, because every other movie on here is well under 2 hours. And it's not that I don't like long films, but we're talking favorites here, because Empire and Jedi are over 2 hours long and stuff like that. But no, Beverly Hills Cop, I found it when I was really young. Unlike you, if it wasn't like overtly sexual, my mom was cool with me watching it, because she's like, just don't say these words, because she always was like, if you hear them, don't say them. So I never did. I never got in trouble in school. I never had any issues. So I discovered Beverly Hills Cop probably around 8 or 9 years old. I thought Axel Foley was the coolest character ever. And I'll never forget, for one of my birthdays, I had already owned the movie. We got it from a family friend, and they had written their name on the back. And it bothered me so much that on my birthday that year, I bought my own copy of the tape, the soundtrack, and something else. I spent all my birthday money on Beverly Hills Cop shit. And that's a trait I still do to this day. Have an obsession with Beverly Hills Cop collectibles, but there's only a few.
What's in your Beverly Hills Cop collection?
Do you really want to know?
Sure.
Oh God, I have it almost on every format that exists except one. Listeners now send me Beverly Hills Cop stuff, so like I got Japanese laser discs. Those are cool. It's my favorite thing ever from P.O. Box, next to the custom Axel Foley figure that was made for me by Thunder Robots. Nice. I hate Funko Pops with a fucking passion, but I got an Axel Foley one because it's the only Axel Foley thing that exists. It's just something that I like, and I know this sounds weird too, but it feels like it's mine in the way that it's not a very popular movie. People don't talk about it, but it's known, and I'm just like, hey, I'm the only one that's into it, and that's cool. Nobody else needs to get involved. Like when we talked last week, you're like, what if I hated it? I wouldn't care. I have all my memories to myself. I enjoy it thoroughly. Again, it's quotable. Not really action-packed. It's got like 1 or 2 scenes that are action-oriented, so I consider it more of a comedy than an action film. All the main characters are great. The supporting cast is great. I really don't know what else to say. If you're new to me, you've never heard me talk about Beverly Hills Cop, but if you've listened to me talk for any extended period of time on my channel, you know how much I love that movie. So, and that's why I got so excited when I went out to California when we were on Wilshire Boulevard, because I was like, this is where this movie takes place. And I was like, cool. And, the music, but we don't need to talk about that part.
So I first saw that when you showed it to me, and I was way too high, so I need to watch it again. I don't remember being entertained, but I also remember being way too high.
You laughed a lot more than I normally laugh in that movie, so I took it as like, she is at least entertained by this.
I was very entertained by it. I thought it was hilarious.
I just like how it's nice and short. It's only an hour and 45 minutes. You get in, you get out, you're done. I don't really need to hear about Axel Foley's childhood and all this other stuff. So, yep, there's a stripper in the movie. I remember if I'm ever at the gym and I turn the movie on the bike, I never watch that scene because I don't want somebody to like, what are you watching? So I don't want people to think I'm like watching porn at the gym, because people are weird.
People are weird.
Yeah.
Cool. So I definitely want to watch it again when I can like actually appreciate it. So.
Well, I will. We have the Plex server access, so we'll watch it again together. Okay. I'm not going to bring like the Blu-ray or something out to California. I'm not going to bring as many movies. If it's on there, we'll just watch it digitally. Who cares? It's not going anywhere.
Okay. So my number 5. This is mine for me that a lot of people hate, and I don't give a fuck.
Okay.
So this is people despise.
Please don't be the wall.
What?
It's a joke. Never mind. Go ahead.
People despise this movie, yourself included. Well, you don't like this movie. And that's fine because it's mine. And I have a lot of powerful memories and connections with it. And I love it, and I will defend it. And that's Mission Impossible 2.
It's not a bad movie. I just don't like it.
it frequently makes the majority of lists as the worst Mission Impossible, which I don't agree with. There are some people who think 3 is the worst. I agree with that. I think 3 is the worst. Mission Impossible 2 for me. I first saw it in theaters when it came out. Was that 99 or 2000?
2000.
2000. And that might have been, it was my first Mission Impossible in theaters for sure. I might have seen it before the first one too. So it might have been my introduction to like that world, those characters. And that's the thing is, so like, unlike, the funny thing is of all of the, I would still argue that Rogue One or Rogue Nation kind of stands alone. But that's the thing is like 1, 2, and 3 were very much standalones. Like they very much, you didn't need any of the other context to watch them, to appreciate them. From Ghost Protocol onwards, they sort of tied the plots together a little bit. Fallout was very much a direct sequel to Rogue Nation. It's the only one I'd say the only one I would say that Fallout you can't fully appreciate without having seen Rogue Nation. Whereas I think you can still appreciate Rogue Nation without watching Ghost Protocol. They cover pretty much everything you need to know from Ghost Protocol, which is like blowing up the Kremlin. They show that, the footage from that, and you're like, okay, well, that's cool. That's all I needed to know from that movie to understand why we are where we are. So I like that. And Mission Impossible 2 is very much a standalone. Like I said, I don't even think I'd seen the first one when I saw the second one. It's fun. It's fun from start to finish. It's got an incredible Hans Zimmer soundtrack. It's
got Limp Bizkit.
Huh?
Limp Bizkit.
It's got that Limp Bizkit.
That song's awesome. I'm not even gonna try to joke around. I fucking love that song. Take a look around.
There you go. It's a fun song. I learned a lot of my early rock songs from it. I learned about Tom Cruise from it. Tandy Newton was awesome in it. The guy who played Billy, who was kind of like his Simon Pegg before Simon Pegg, was great.
I actually like him as much as I like the Simon Pegg. I wish that guy would have come back.
I wish they brought him back. He was a lot of fun. He's got a lot of personality and Australianness out there. Australian accent. I love Dougray Scott as that villain.
You know what? I'm going to take back every bad thing I ever said about Mission Impossible 2 right here on the air in front of the world to see. You know why? If that movie didn't exist the way it did, we wouldn't have Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, and he's one of the best casting choices ever. So thank you, Mission Impossible 2. I love that you exist. There we go. Yeah, the look on your face, you're like, what are you going to say?
Asshole. Yeah, it has all those like unnecessary slow whip pans and stuff.
It's John Woo.
Exactly. But the soundtrack and the way it pairs with the visuals in it, even his like need to have fire works in some parts of it. Some solid action sequences, a lot of really good, definitely good dialogue, definitely very quotable. It checks a lot of your boxes. So why don't you like it?
Oh, okay. Well, unlike you, I saw the first Mission Impossible as soon as it hit videotape because I love spy and espionage films. From the stuff like James Bond, we can go back and look at older stuff. We can even look at some of the hokier stuff from the 60s. It's parodies of Bond. Or we can look at stuff like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, new stuff like that. I just like spy movies, all of them. Mission Impossible came out in 96. I saw it in 97 on tape. I used to watch that and GoldenEye back-to-back. It was like my own double feature. I loved the first Mission Impossible. I liked the twist, how, it was Jim Phelps that was the bad guy all along. I was really invested in it. Then number 2 comes out, and it's completely different than what I'm used to. And I was like disappointed. I was like, what is this? This isn't that great. And I remember we watched it on DVD at my aunt's house when it was new. I remember sitting through it, and that was it. And it was the one time I really watched it for years. And then I caught it again, I think, in college. Because Mission Impossible 3 was the newest one out at that point. So I think we watched all of them. And I don't like number 3 as well. I love 1, 2, and 3. I don't want to watch ever again. And then the rest I like. But I will sit through 2. If we're going to do all of them, we can do all of them. Or 2, I don't.
The thing is, like, if you remove 2 from the context of Mission Impossible, it doesn't hurt it. Huh?
Oh, it doesn't take away from the overall series because it doesn't really matter. Does Anthony Hopkins ever come back?
3 doesn't.
Oh, I will say the same thing.
I don't think so.
I don't like it. No, you have to say no. 3 has to be there. His wife.
As long as the wife. That's true.
You're lagging terribly, by the way.
No, you're lagging at my end too.
Oh shit. Because I'll talk and I won't hear anything from you, but I'll see your mouth move.
You're not lagging that badly, but you're a little behind.
Okay. Well, I'll just ignore it. Yeah, you are.
I don't know what the fuck to do. I can't fix my internet.
You're only about a second behind, honestly. I'll deal. Anyway,
just quit the stream.
I'd be pissed. I actually like this stream. We're only halfway through the list. I'm actually learning about you and having a good time. I like mindless bullshit.
It's fun.
You know what we should do for this from now on? You know how it says mindless entertainment under your name? You should say mindless and mine should just say bullshit. That's
what we should do.
Yeah.
Jetjo Johnson, when you were having that buffering issue, nobody else was having an issue. So
you're not lagging anymore.
Okay. There you go. So that might have been a you thing, Jet. But anyway, because I saw your comment, I was worried. But it appears that was not the issue. Anyway, what's your number 5?
Real quick, I just want to make a point. Hammer, yes, the Beverly Hills Cop soundtrack is lit, and I own it on every format. I actually bought myself an original vinyl of it a couple months ago. So there we go. Number 5 on my list. Here's where my list gets interchangeable, to be honest. I just picked movies that I like a lot. Like these are favorites of mine, but I don't know where they fall on the list. But number 5 is The Big Lebowski. I love this movie. Now, this was one of the few movies on my list where I didn't see it the first time and instantly fall in love with it. I saw it when it was fairly new to DVD. So I saw it technically in the 90s with my cousin. I would have been 10 years old. He's like, this is so funny. I laughed at the fuck jokes. I laughed at the more obvious stuff. But then that was it. I didn't watch it for another 10 years. So when I was in college, I think I got it like at a DVD sale super cheap. It was like one of the newer releases. I was like, I know this movie. I'm going to watch it again. And from that moment on, I fell in love with it. Again, it checks my boxes about, great characters, quotable dialogue. And it's really story driven because you always talk about the story. I've watched the movie probably 20 or 30 times, and there are certain things you don't pick up on the first or the second or even the third viewing. Like the first couple times I watched it, when she's like, "You should go have yourself checked out," after he got hit, I was like, "Oh, she just doesn't want to get sued." No, she's really kind of trying to get him to be the father of this kid and all this stuff. So just little bitty things like that. And to me, the sign of a great movie is every time you watch it, you discover something new.
Yeah,
Jeff Bridges is great as the dude. It's probably his most iconic role. John Goodman's my favorite character, though. Walter Sobchak.
Walter's amazing. Hey, can't ball on the Shabbos.
You see what happens when you fuck a stranger? Yes, I love that. Oh my god, even the TV censored version is amazing.
And Steve Buscemi.
That is the only thing I would change about that movie. He wouldn't die. I don't think it adds anything to the story.
Except for that incredible scene at the end where John Goodman's trying to spread his ashes and they blow back into the dude's beard.
Yeah. God damn it, Walter.
that scene is incredible. So it adds that scene to the movie. And for me, that makes it worth it. The Big Lebowski is one of my dad's favorite comedies. And we watched that. That was one of my early R films. I was a little young for watching that one. That was sort of the criteria. The criteria was like, if the language was never that much of an issue. They kind of we knew how to differentiate between good and bad words, so we knew what to say and what not to say. Some of the concerns were violence. It was like things that were gratuitous violence and gratuitous sex. Like sex and violence weren't an issue. Gratuitousness of it was like if my parents didn't see a point to it other than those things. Then we weren't really allowed to watch it. But the exception was always it was something my parents liked and they showed it to us. So my dad liked The Big Lebowski. This is like a debate that raged in my family because my dad loved it. He showed it to us. We all loved it. And then Anchorman came out, and my cousins and my uncle really thought Anchorman was hysterical. And I liked it. I think I liked it better like maybe the second time I watched it over the first. I don't remember. I enjoyed it. But I thought The Big Lebowski. I think the Big Lebowski is better. But my cousins and my uncle didn't really like The Big Lebowski. So it was this thing about this feud that those people, we all get along really well. So those we had to have a feud was like The Big Lebowski versus Anchorman. No contest, Big Lebowski.
Yeah, I don't think they're comparable. They're different levels of comedy.
Absolutely. And Lebowski, that's why my dad's a big Coen Brothers fan too. So,
Are you?
What?
Are you?
I haven't seen like all of the movies. I generally enjoy what I've seen.
Have you seen Burn After Reading?
Yeah,
I love that movie.
that one's great.
Most people hate on it. I think it's my second favorite one of theirs.
My favorite moment in that is just when Brad Pitt pops out of the closet with that face right before he gets his head blown off. Oh my god.
Yeah, he's like, he's my favorite part.
And then just fucking dies. Oh god.
J.K. Simmons is my favorite part. What have we learned here? Nothing.
Nothing.
I don't know.
J.K. Simmons is great in that one. My favorite part is John Malkovich when he's like trembling. He's like, "I'm back, bitch!" Like he's doing this whole like, oh god.
He's doing this thing.
Yeah,
like
he's like working out. He's like, "I'm back." Oh my god, no, I enjoy that movie a lot.
We'll watch that together. Have a good laugh.
So good. Lebowski, I need to see again. It's been a while since I've watched. That was also the first time it was acceptable to swear at the dinner table. Quoting that movie, you know, shut the fuck up, Donnie. Like you don't fuck with the Jesus. Like all that stuff. That was allowable.
Market Zero.
Kid. So. One of my favorite moments too was I don't like your jerk off name, I don't like your jerk off face, and I don't like you jerk off. Got it? Oh, I'm sorry, I was listening. Just throws the mug at him. Oh my god, that scene.
Stay out of Malibu, Lebowski. I think one of my favorite lines is Jackie Treehorn treats women or objects like women or whatever. I think was the line.
Oh god, no!
I'm glad we're on the same page with this movie too.
I love it. It does not make my top 10, but it is definitely a big love for me.
Well, the thing is, remember how I told you in the very beginning, I have to take superhero movies and certain series out because, honestly, I like Spider-Man too, but then it's this is better than Spider. It to me it adds too many questions to my list, so I try to take those types of things out. But Big Lebowski, all day, every day, I could watch Big Lebowski, monthly and not get tired of it.
Yeah. No, I agree. It definitely has that. And like you said, there's more to discover. So I'm excited to watch it again because it's been a while. So I'm excited to sort of relearn all that thing.
Well, I got the super deluxe steelbook with the Blu-ray and the DVD and the digital copy and all this other bullshit.
Right. I learned so much about nihilism from that movie.
Yeah. I love what's his name? Peter Stormare, that actor who plays Carl Hungus. He's great. I like him in everything he's in, including Armageddon. I hate that movie.
I think I liked it when I saw it.
The only reason I don't, Joel, you've met Joel a bunch, or a couple times at least, once. That's a couple. You'll meet him next year. He's coming to California.
Yay.
Joel saw that movie in the military with the only woman he ever almost married, so he talks about it with such reverence. So I try to be nice about it around him because I know how much it means and it takes him back to this woman and all this stuff. But I just don't like Armageddon. It's so hokey.
I haven't seen it since around when it came out. So
I know you like the song. I don't want to close my eyes.
Oh yeah. I
You got that random video of me?
Oh god, that's so funny.
Did it make you laugh or did it make you sad?
Trying to be serious. What a great text to get from your friend. Always have enough Satan in your life.
Is that from Hadass?
No, it's from Wolfgang.
Oh.
Which is why Hadass and Wolfgang would get along. You knocked off the pretty feather. You're tearing this apart. You're tearing it apart. You're tearing it apart.
Lisa.
Awesome. So do I have any proper comedies on my top 10? I don't think I have any comedies on my top 10.
I think every one of mine on the rest of the list is comedy.
All right. So my numbers, and this for me very much, my 6 through 10 is very fluid. I don't necessarily know if I have a preference. I'd say they all make top 10 and that's the thing is my back 5 are very different. And because of that, there's a lot of I'm there to remember them all. I forgot what one of them was now. Oh my god, Kitten. What are you doing? Are you staring at your ibble? Malcolm, are you staring at your own ibble? Fuck, I have to remember my back 5. Hold on. Oh, Kitten, as a Mal said that. He found the first letter of his name. Look at him. Fuck. Now, oh, okay, yeah, duh. So I'm gonna put 6 at we'll go with Casablanca. which could definitely be a top 5 for me. That was one that, like, this is my dad's favorite movie of all time. He's the best movie ever made, it I saw it for the first time when I was way too young to care or appreciate or understand it. I watched it again sometime in high school and was like, oh my God, this movie's actually amazing, and fell in love with it. And I was really glad that I liked it as much as I did, because it's my dad's favorite movie. So it's like I want to be able to have that in common. And so I started watching it a lot. It was great because then I could quote it with my dad, and when he would want to watch it, we could watch it. And I got, for his birthday one year, I got him, like, I think we watched it on his birthday because we got him like some nice DVD release of it, some like collector's version and all that. So it was really great that I discovered how great of a film it is. That's another one. It's not that long. It tops out around an hour and 50, maybe hour 47, something like that. So it's shy of 2 hours. It's hysterically funny. It holds up. And Niles, yes, my cat did just speak to you in the chat. Mal wanted to say that to you. It's hilariously funny. It's poignant. It's relevant. The themes and the messages in it are relevant today. It was bold for the time, because you're talking about a film that's taking making deep statements about World War II that comes out while World War II is still happening. Brilliantly cast, and definitely a perfect film. I mean, definitely every moment has meaning, everything has purpose in it. I despise Ingrid Bergman's character. I mean, she's a wonderful actress, she's beautiful. Despise her character in the film. There's another, if you want to talk about like a great female role, there's a minor character in there who has a great, just a small, brief point in the movie, and that she's really only there to help further define Rick's character and further define Louis's character. But even so, it's a great moment of like, and a great little picture of how people. Mark C just quoted my favorite line. It's a great picture of how war makes you grow up and what it forces you to do and stuff like that. So
I'm ready to watch it. I haven't seen it, admittedly, but
bring it to Milwaukee as well. That's one I can bring. It's a good one. It's a romantic movie. We can curl up and watch it together. It's very sweet. You want quotable too. I think there are quotes in that movie people don't even realize are from Casablanca. Like, here's looking at you, kid. Of course. The problems of three little people don't amount to a hill of beans in this crazy world. I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. I mean, those are all. As the hammer puts it, the lighting is a character in Casablanca. It truly is. The phrase "round up the usual suspects" is from Casablanca. So that whole concept of the usual suspects is from Casablanca. But yeah, Mark C's got my favorite line. I'm shocked to find that gambling is going on in this establishment. And someone walks up to him and goes, "You're winning, sir." "Oh, thank you." It's Louis is the best. Claude Rains as Louis Renault is just the absolute best in it. Maniaco says Network is a great movie. It is. Have you seen Network?
I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So have you ever seen Casablanca?
No, I just said that.
At all.
I just said that, and you said you're going to bring it.
Okay, I couldn't remember if you said it was something you'd seen a long time ago. Didn't remember.
No, the only movie I've told you about that was Gladiator.
Okay.
Casablanca, I may have seen like the ending on, like, my grandma loves Turner Classic Movies, so I may have seen it on Turner Classic Movies. I think the only Humphrey Bogart movie I've seen is The Maltese Falcon, which I love.
I actually haven't seen that one. You're gonna love Casablanca because it's like it's just good. Like you can't. I mean, any of the complaints people try to say about old movies, they're boring. They don't.
I love old movies.
This is like, and the casting for every character. You have people who are like big character actors of the time, like Sidney Greenstreet and Peter Lorre, who both have just great, perfectly placed in the movies. Peter Lorre's great in this one.
He's creepy.
And he's always creepy, but
Sidney Greenstreet was like jokingly the inspiration for Jabba the Hutt, right? If you listen to Phil Tippett talk about it,
that's hilarious. But everyone's just so perfectly cast, down to the what's his face, the German fucking guy. Like it's
Soldier? I don't know.
Yeah, he's like captain or something or general. So many great lines. I'm not going to start quoting them all because I don't want to ruin them.
Deal. Let me bring that for sure.
Okay.
I'd much rather watch that than like I'm Gladiator's fine, but I know I'm more excited to watch it because I've never seen it. I know kind of what I'm getting with Gladiator.
I'm definitely gonna write. It's such a good movie. It's just it's such a good movie.
I've seen Jewel of the Nile, the movie
and the overall theme of the film. One of the themes of the film is bros before hoes. So Major Strasser, that's it. Major Strasser, the guy who plays Major Strasser. Thank you, Fugu. Anyway, so that's number 6 for me.
Number 6
even be higher. Like some days that could even be higher. Anyway,
like I said, like you, the list is fluid. Number 6 for me is Hot Fuzz. I love this movie so fucking much. And people are like, what do you like more, Hot Fuzz or Shaun of the Dead? I like Shaun of the Dead, but I think Hot Fuzz is a little more mature of a movie, like from Edgar Wright. I mean, Shaun of the Dead's a nice throwback to the Romero zombie films. It's a lot like the show Spaced, which I enjoy. The character of Ed, when I was a kid, I thought he was this great character. I thought he was funny. I was always sad when he died. Then I got older and I met Ed, and I think basically Shaun of the Dead's too realistic. And I know that sounds dumb to say, but like the relationships and the people you meet in your lives and stuff like that, like it just kind of crosses. Like everybody goes through that. So you have your Liz, you have your Ed, like people have that in their lives. And I like that. It's fine. Yeah. I enjoy that movie, but Hot Fuzz is just a funnier film. I think it has better acting. It's bigger. I like the genre.
I do like the recurring Point Break references too.
Oh yeah. I hadn't seen Point Break until I saw Hot Fuzz. And now I've obviously seen Point Break. The original, not the remake. Don't ask in the chat.
I will never watch the remake. I refuse. I flat out I see no purpose for it. Mark C says you both need to watch The Big Sleep with Bogey and McCall. I have seen The Big Sleep. Was that their first movie together?
You're asking me. You're like literally sorry, you're looking at me. I'm just like, I don't know.
The chat. So that was the thing when Lauren Bacall first worked with Humphrey Bogart. He was much older than she was, and she was the young new ingenue, and he had sort of been established, and he was a little more he was older at the time, a little bit older, and she was like weirded out by like working with this old dude. She was like, ugh, gross. And then they got married, and did a gajillion movies together.
I actually think I may have seen this movie. I'm reading the description right now.
I mean, it's also like the plot for every film noir ever. So, but yeah, no, it's fun. It was there. I think The Big Sleep was their first film together, and that's they right away they had this incredible chemistry and got together. So,
but yeah, back to Hot Fuzz. I'm trying to think what else I want to say about it. I remember catching it. Do you remember Google Video before YouTube was bought by Google? So I went to the school library and I typed in Hot Fuzz on Google Video, the original one, and they had a bootleg of the entire movie. So I emailed myself the little URL, and I came home and I watched it. This was like 2 or 3 weeks before it came out in America. And I caught it in like a limited screening as soon as it came out. I bought all the DVDs, all the Blu-rays. I just love the character. I already liked Nick Frost and Simon Pegg a lot. I thought they have great chemistry, but I like him more in this one. And part of the reason I do like this movie more too is that Nick Frost lives at the end. I know that's a stupid thing, but I remember thinking like, oh, he dies again at the end of the movie. And then, he's just like the twist, he's there.
Yeah.
But I love the premise. I think it's hilarious. And I think my favorite part, honestly, the whole movie is he comes up with an entirely plausible reason why people are getting murdered in Sanford. The real estate magnate and all this stuff. And like he comes up with this perfect plot. And they're like, no, it's because she had an annoying laugh. It's because this head didn't fit the rustic aesthetic. And you're just like, and you just, and it's got every type of humor in it too. So, yeah. I mean, it's hard for me to talk about comedies because they're personal. What I find funny, you may not find funny. Like one of my favorite jokes is when the old lady's getting ready to pull the shotgun out and he kicks her across the face. And the next shot is her with a broken nose. I fucking laugh at that every time. Or when the priest gets shot in the foot, he goes, Jesus Christ. Like just stuff like that makes me crack up every time.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, I like that. I only saw it once, maybe twice, but I really enjoyed it.
I'll watch it again. On every format that exists. So,
you crazy. I definitely don't.
Picture and all the special features.
I definitely don't rewatch things as often as you do. That's actually part of why my top 10 is my top 10. All of these movies are films that I've watched a million times.
So if I don't like something, I won't watch it again. Like There are certain movies that I like somebody mentioned A Fish Called Wanda. I really like that movie a lot, but I've only watched it once. Again, I like Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. I've only seen it twice, but I really like that movie.
I only watched Fish Called Wanda once, and it weirded me out. I was young when I saw it, and it weirded me out, and I didn't like it.
I saw it this past year for the first time, and I was like, Kevin Kline was great. I love Jamie Lee Curtis, too. She's funnier than people give her credit.
Laura Ryan Slow, my favorite story says, maybe tape a pillow to your wall, Jessi, because my cats keep flinging themselves into it. That's for them to figure out. All right, so that was your number 6?
Yeah, your turn for 7.
My 7, I'm going to go with... I'm going to go with the Indiana Jones trilogy.
That is not on my list. I love Indiana Jones probably more than the movies, but I don't do trilogies. I do single movie personal list. So that's why I didn't put those on there, because I like them all about the same.
Raiders is my favorite. For me, it's close between Raiders and what?
Last Crusade.
Yeah, but Raiders is my favorite.
I'm a Temple of Doom guy, but to me, they're all 100% love them.
I think it's weird that you're Temple of Doom I think was my favorite when I was younger. I really enjoyed it when I was younger, and as I got older, I was like, this is just not as good as the other ones. It's just functionally as a film not as good, and that chick is so fucking annoying.
The thing I like about it, though, is that Temple of Doom is completely different from Raiders and Last Crusade. Raiders and Last Crusade have a lot of similarities, and like I said, I like all these movies the same. But the reason I like Temple of Doom is I don't want to have to fight Nazis again. And I think Spielberg and Lucas were kind of in love with that first movie so much that they kind of, they didn't remake it, but they kind of remade it. There are certain parts of Last Crusade that are very similar.
Yeah, they definitely parallel Raiders very closely. There was like to the point where like before I had seen them all 1,000 times, or even I think when I was watching them probably a lot, there were times where it's like I couldn't remember which scene was in which movie, you know?
I mean, yeah, they're visually very similar. I mean, I can tell by Indiana Jones' hat, which is which, or the beard, his beard.
Sure, I just mean like thinking about it. If I'm thinking about a scene from the movie, like I couldn't necessarily remember which was.
Well, remember, Jessi, there was a point in my life where I thought Indiana Jones was a better trilogy than Star Wars, and still in the back of my mind, I go, I like Indiana Jones more than Han Solo. So I love Indiana Jones. Those movies in general are just fucking 10 out of 10s for me.
Raiders also has one of my favorite movie moments of all time, which is when he pulls out the gun and shoots the guy with the swords.
You don't like the part in Last Crusade, or not Last Crusade, in Temple of Doom where they try to do it again and he realizes he doesn't have it, so he just runs off?
I do like that scene. I like that callback.
They even play the musical cue again?
Oh, I love the callback. But and I love when films do stuff like that. But no, I just love, and you know why. I mean, there's the conflicting story. There's many different versions as to why he didn't do the choreography.
The dysentery.
What?
Yeah, he was sick.
That's the popular version. The one that I heard, I can't remember where I've heard it from a source, but it was like, this is the one I believe, was that he was just hungover. I buy that.
I would buy it too, but they always say everyone got dysentery. That's why Sala didn't get killed in the movie, because there's a scene where Sala is lined up to get shot on the tree, and he just pukes everywhere on himself and shits his pants at the same time, and they just cut the scene out. So Sala just gets whatever, and they keep him in the movie.
Right.
But Raiders is great. Temple's great. Last Crusade's great. The fourth one can suck.
Fourth one doesn't exist. That's like when I talk about
fucking hate Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I hate that, I think, more than I hate The Force Awakens, because it ruined something perfect for me. The prequels already kind of changed my view on Star Wars. I
don't think Kingdom of Crystal Skull affected my perception of Indiana Jones the same way that, because like I hate the movie. I think it's terrible. And I think I've watched it once and then never again. But I don't think I dislike it as much as Force Awakens or Last Jedi, because
Last Jedi's not. We're not talking that one. I just meant Force Awakens. Sorry.
No, but even Force Awakens, I just think that I don't think that Kingdom of the Crystal Skull had as much of an impact on the Indiana Jones franchise as Force Awakens did for Star Wars. Like, I don't think anyone watches. I don't think Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is anyone's favorite. Not even like kids.
I don't think kids like Indiana Jones. And I don't think kids ever did love it the way they loved Star Wars. And the reason I say that,
too. I did. I freaking loved Indiana Jones when I was a kid.
Did I tell you my number one dream as a kid? Not number one, but I always wanted an Indiana Jones action figure. They never made them in the 90s. You had to get either the Kenner one, which was expensive. I had a fucking Micro Machine that I had, and I had like a Micro Machine set, and I played with it all the time. It was the only Indiana Jones thing you could get. The video games were few and far between, it was like rare. But when it came out, I bought every fucking thing for it.
My favorite game that my friend and I played, my favorite imaginary game, my best friend in like first grade and I would play was Indiana Jones and James Bond on Jurassic Park Island. And I was Indiana Jones.
Now, would Indiana Jones be uncomfortable teaming up with James Bond because he reminds him of his dad?
No.
Now you got it. There you go. It took you a second.
No, I realize what you were saying. I just don't think that would be relevant.
I know. I think the reason why Kingdom of the Crystal Skull bothers me so much more than the other ones, honestly, I hold Indiana Jones like that trilogy. Like I said, everything I enjoy about it. And this, like, when you think about it, like Back to the Future, I love 1, 2's fine. I don't like 3. Spider-Man, I love 1. I really love 2. I don't like 3. Indiana Jones across the board, it was great. And you get that last one, and it's the last memory you ever have of Indiana Jones. It leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And Last Crusade, I don't say this about stuff, but like it has the perfect movie ending. He literally rides off into the sunset. Everything is resolved. The story is over. There's nothing to tell. Sure. And they just and if you're gonna make an Indiana Jones 4, you should have made it in like 1993 when Harrison Ford still looked great. It was pre-CGI era. It would have been shot on location. You did the city of Atlantis or something religious again, because I told you this. I always liked Indiana Jones movies because I had to go to Catholic school. So we talked about this shit. And then you'd watch Indiana Jones, find it, and you're like, this is awesome. It's like Indiana Jones. And, so I took a German language class in my senior year of college so I could watch Raiders of the Lost Ark and write a paper on it.
Nice.
So.
Mark C. sent a super chat a bit ago. Jeff, have you ever seen The Mark of Zorro with Tyrone Power?
I have not. The only Zorro movie I know and love is the one with Antonio Banderas.
The Mask of Zorro.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. That didn't make the list. If there was a top 25, that would be on there. I really
love that movie. I do love that movie a lot.
We should get a copy of that for the apartment.
We should. I'm down. I haven't watched it in ages, but I always loved that movie.
I watched it about a year ago with my grandma. She's like, this is the best Zorro movie ever. My grandma's 95, so she remembers all of them.
The sad thing about it, that the one thing about that movie that kind of got ruined for me as I got older, is the sword fighting is not very good.
Remember, I don't know these things.
So it kind of like when I watched it later on after I'd been fencing for a while, I was like, oh, so it sort of messed that up for me a little bit, but I still love the film. I still love so many things about it.
So now you and I have something in common the listeners probably don't know about. I'm pretty sure. We both were Indiana Jones for Halloween at some point, right?
We were.
I was Indiana Jones for a couple years straight.
I scaled a building and broke into my own apartment.
I had a satchel and I had a tape player in it. This was 2003, so we didn't have MP3 players with speakers on the outside. And I had the Indiana Jones theme play when I trick-or-treated. This was the last year I ever went trick-or-treating. Indiana Jones. I had a leather jacket and everything. I felt cool.
Adorable. So, yeah. I personally, though, like, for me, and that's part of it too, like, so The Force Awakens, you like Indiana Jones better than Han Solo. I like Han Solo better. So when The Force Awakens ruined Han Solo for me, that was a problem. He gets his happily ever after at the end of at the end of Return of the Jedi, and then they just fuck it all up. So
yep, that's what Disney Star Wars is about. People go, oh, it's realistic, it's this, it's that. Star Wars is a fucking fantasy. Because
that was the thing, is without needing some dumb fucking origin story, you can tell that Han has had a hard life. Like, you don't become a fucking smuggler who's indebted to gangsters if you haven't been through some shit. So the fact that he goes through and he becomes this honorable man who's a decorated general who gets the girl and says happily ever after, I'm like, good for him. And that's one thing that always bothered me about the EU, is the EU kind of fucked that up for him too. Like, so for me, I never accepted like Han Solo's EU trajectory, because I'm like, fucking give him a fucking break already. Hasn't he been through enough?
It's when you get involved with like the kids and the killing your son and Chewbacca dying, that's when I lose it, like that New Jedi Order shit. But like, you got to read the courtship of Princess Leia when he gets married to Princess Leia. How he like, there's like another guy involved that he's trying to one up. He's like some rich prince. Like Princess Leia is gonna marry some dude so they can unite, like not the kingdom, but unite like the rebellion with something else to help strengthen the new rebellion or whatever. And Han Solo gets jealous, and I think he goes and he wins a fucking planet in like a game, like a gambling game. It almost mirrors Spaceballs. Remember how Lone Star's a prince at the end? Han Solo doesn't become a prince, but it's like a story like that. It's very different, but I really like it.
Okay.
You should read it. Well, I'll read it to you.
Okay. That was never one of the things EU-wise I never pursued was Han Solo post post Return of the Jedi. I felt like his story finished satisfyingly, and I just didn't need any more. I didn't want any more.
Yeah.
So, anyway, all right. So what's number 7 for you?
Oh, done talking about Indiana Jones. That's sad. No. Number 7 for me is a movie that I've watched for so long. I caught it early. Again, I brought this up earlier in the stream. It was a McDonald's tape my mom bought me. Wayne's World. This movie, I don't know how to describe how much I love Wayne's World. I've seen it countless times. I can quote it. It's funny. In many ways, right now, it kind of mirrors my life and stuff I'm trying to do. You've seen Wayne's World, right?
Yeah.
Remember how he takes the public access show and then eventually sells it corporate and all this stuff? You know, we're all like building our own brands and doing stuff like that. So it kind of reminds me of what we all do. But it's hard to describe. Like, I didn't watch SNL as a little kid, so I didn't catch Wayne's World as a skit. I only knew it as a movie. But it was something I would watch with my cousin who was like 13 years older. So we both liked it. We both laughed. It was a lot of fun. The characters are great. Wayne, Garth, Cassandra kicks ass and she's funny. And then you got like Benjamin, and he's this smarmy little, music producer / television producer who's trying to go in there and like take away their stuff and, turn it corporate and make it their own. And it's, people say, oh, it's a story about commercialism. It's this, it's that. Yes, it is, but it's a lot of fun. And again, at the end of the day, all these movies for me have to be entertaining and enjoyable. And I have to want to go back. There has to be something there for me. So, what? Exactly.
Spew into this.
Well, now I won't do that. I'll say I can show on, if you give me the screen share, I'll show my Wayne's World costume, but I won't. I'll show you later. No, but like, there are times where I'm saying stuff to somebody and I think I'll go like, excuse me, Russell, I believe I requested the hand job, or just random lines of dialogue, or like when what?
You did it.
That's what I said exactly.
Did the thing.
Now, if we're going to talk about number 2, I'd go, you want me to say what? Like, I don't understand what you're saying. I like Christopher Walken in part 2 a lot. Christopher
Walken made part 2. Oh God, Christopher Walken just made part 2.
But in part 1, I mean, you talked earlier about how like every scene to a movie adds to it. Wayne's World is just every scene has a great joke that works, and it doesn't really feel super dated. Like it takes place in 1992, and there are certain pop culture throwbacks like the Terminator joke is probably one of my favorites in the whole movie because they get Robert Patrick. Have you seen this boy? And he screams and drives off. It was meta. It was funny. I don't think Mike Myers has made like a more pure movie since Wayne's World. Austin Powers is funny. The second one's even better. But like then you get into the Cat in the Hat.
And one thing I love about Wayne's World 2, not Wayne's World 2, Wayne's World as well, is like the little tributes, the little callbacks to like classic films as well. Like the Graduate reference and
that's number 2.
What, that was in the number 2?
That's how number 2 ends, yeah.
Okay.
Wayne stock. I think you like number 2 a lot. You just don't.
Wait, number 2, where he's stopping her from marrying somebody else.
He's stopping Christopher Walken. Yeah, Bobby.
Right, because Christopher. Yeah, okay, yeah. But then it was the number 1 where they do the Thelma and Louise ending.
Nope, that's Wayne's World 2.
Okay.
You just like Wayne's World 2.
I think I've just seen both of them a lot, and I don't necessarily remember what parts from which ones. I saw them both like really close together too, so it was like. We saw the first one, and my parents were like, and there's a second one. We're like, great. So we watched the second one, then we would just watch both of them, and we watched them a lot. So I watched a ton of them. And then I saw some of the old, because we would watch the best of, like we get the SNL, we watch like best of Mike Myers. So we see the old Wayne's World sketches from that and stuff. I'll have the cream of some young guy.
That's another one of the jokes. Ribbed for her pleasure. Ew. Like and another thing too. My friend Dan and I, we both love that movie, and that's something we will quote back and forth. It just, it has a lot of meaning. I never get tired of it. You could say, we could be doing anything. You want to watch Wayne's World? Of course, I do want to watch Wayne's World.
I do love that movie.
It's a great soundtrack.
You got me a gun rack.
I don't even have a gun. I don't have many guns to necessitate an entire rack.
I love that part.
You better be careful when you're going to lose me. I lost you 2 months ago, Stacy. Get the net.
Oh, God.
You can see I'm having a good time talking about it. So
yes, the first has Rob Lowe. That might be. I'm trying to remember. That's the first thing I saw Rob Lowe in.
It was for me.
I think it was actually, because I think that's why like I always, even though he plays a lot of like wholesome characters later on, I think that's why I always just never trusted him until I watched like all of Parks and Rec.
I actually, for a while as a kid, the Scooby-Doo ending joke. every time I'd see him in the movie, I'd think, is that the old guy under a mask? Wouldn't she know about his body? Like, I just had that thought. I was like, what? This movie came out in 92. I was 4 when it came out. I probably had it on tape at 5 years old. So we're talking like super young to watch Wayne's World, but I loved it. So thankfully, as an adult, I picked up on, yes, it's just a Scooby-Doo reference. He's not really an old man underneath there.
Anthony Shirley says, Friends bash modern CGI while I watch Lawnmower Man.
That movie, I love Pierce Brosnan. He's up there as one of my favorite actors. But man, I hate that movie.
So have you seen Mamma Mia?
No, I have standards. Then again, I've seen Die Another Day about 15 times, so those standards are pretty low.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I saw Mamma Mia once. I think friends maybe watched it or something. Not my cup of tea.
I don't like musicals.
Neither do I.
I mean, I actually had a musical as my honorable mention on this list, but yeah, there's only 2 I genuinely love. So,
I actually really liked. I would argue so. Blinded by the Light just came out this summer. It's really really good. It's actually technically, if you watch it, it is a musical, but all the music's Bruce Springsteen song down. The one thing that pissed me off though was they did not use my favorite Springsteen song in the movie, which is "I'm on Fire." I
don't have a favorite Springsteen song.
That's my favorite one. Do you know that song?
I don't like Bruce Springsteen, so that's why I don't have a favorite. I know Dancing in the Dark, but everybody knows that song.
Do you dislike Bruce Springsteen?
No, I don't. I don't necessarily like bands that have saxophones or trumpets in it, like a rock band.
I definitely like Bruce Springsteen was always someone that was just fine and has grown on me at various points. Actually, after this movie, grew on me a lot more. But I mean, like, the song "Blinded by the Light." You probably know the Man for Man version.
Yeah, but I know the original one's Bruce Springsteen. My mom and I actually have this discussion quite a bit.
Yeah.
She's like, it's so bad.
The original?
Yeah, because she was in a grocery store, like recently with me, and we're like, is this Blinded by the Light? And we looked it up. And so every once in a while, she's like, yeah, like Blinded by the Light is a remake. The original's so bad.
I actually never, because I always knew that it was originally Springsteen. I never knew that remake was Manfred Mann, though, because I know Manfred Mann from doing Do Wah Diddy. It's a great 60s song.
I know that song. She looked good.
It's a good song. No, he did Born in the USA. Born to Run is another one that I really like by him.
I know that song. I mean, I know these songs. I just don't. I actually dislike the song Born in the USA.
Born in the USA bugs me. I appreciate it because people don't know, they don't understand that it's a lot of deeper. It's a deeper significance. It was about Vietnam and all this stuff. And
honestly, I can tell you why, because it just keeps repeating that one part at the end, or when it like. I just don't like the song. I don't know how to describe it. I've never enjoyed
like the song. Promised Land. Promised Land's a really good song. And I believe in the promise.
Huey Lewis and the News. I like 2 of their songs.
All right. So number 8 for me, I'm gonna say is Fight Club.
I debated if I was gonna put Fight Club on my list.
Really?
I got it on Blu-ray. I like Fight Club. But again, it's a movie I like that I've only seen a few times.
I've seen that one. That's one that I know front to back pretty much. Dr. Coffindale says, Jeff, why don't you watch Crime Junkie anymore?
Oh, the podcast? Because I was so I don't know, it really fucked with my brain because I just think about crime all the time and I wasn't happy. I'd be like, oh my God, what if so-and-so gets murdered? So I was so into it. I had to take myself out because it's better for you guys, but like that. When I'm happy and positive, the videos are happy and positive.
Laura Ryan, still my fan story, says I'm on Fire is a great song. It is. She also says, don't talk about Fight Club.
So let's not. Let's just move on.
No.
That'd be really a great joke.
That would be great if we did that. I was like, so my favorite movie is Fight Club. Can't talk about Fight Club. I will say though, the reason why I watched it has to do with somebody that you met, which was way back when I was in 7th grade. I had this incredible guitar teacher named Rick, and he was like, I'm going to teach you how to play Where's My Mind by the Pixies. And I was like, cool, I don't know that song. And he was like, you ever seen Fight Club? And I was like, no. And he was like, all right, well, when you see Fight Club, you're going to really love that you know how to play that song. And I was like, okay. So then I put that on my list as I need to see this movie because Rick said so. And Rick was like, if he told me to do it, I did it, I didn't do it right away, though. I didn't do it, I think, until after he left. But one of my really good friends in high school was obsessed with Fight Club. And so we sat down and watched it. I think it was 9th grade. We finally sat down and watched it. and it was incredible for me. It was just like, because, and it wasn't one of these like, oh, it changed everything, or, you know, oh my God, at this, at that, or even the overarching like iconoclastic, you know, fuck the system themes that people really responded to when they were teenagers, and like, yeah, down with the system and all that stuff. That wasn't what got me. It was the visceral, it was the view of violence as therapy. I think that, and the understanding of the necessity to have an outlet and expression for violence, that really spoke to me. So the stuff that speaks to me, it's like, you know, the voiceover section where he talks about how, you know, this guy was just some high school nobody, whatever, who worked at a grocery store, but he was a god for 5 minutes when he trounced the maitre d' of a local restaurant, you know, and just stuff like that. And that really encapsulates like my relationship with violence, in a big way, and my affinity for it. And so it's like, that's how I feel. Those moments and what they capture when they're, you know, fighting in the basement, is how I feel when I'm doing something Krav Maga, beating the shit out of the heavy bag, you know, fighting with somebody, getting a punch someone in the face, you know, like that's how it makes me feel. So that's always, I think I posted on I might have made a Twitter post at one point. I might have even done on Facebook. I don't think I know if I was on Twitter when I started. I might have even just done this on Facebook, but you get bruises doing Krav. And my relationship with violence, the Jessi Milestone story. Yes. Accurate description of my memoir. So you do like defense and whatnot. You get bruises sometimes on your arms, you know, from doing fight defenses, on your neck sometimes if your partner actually squeezed really hard, sometimes you get punched in the face, sometimes you get hit places, you know.
Is this ever going to be a problem in our relationship? Like, you're in Krav and you get beat up and people think I did it?
No. Maybe.
Make sure you're like, I took Krav Maga, he didn't do anything to me.
When I was fencing, I would get bruises from fencing. Like, I get bruises on my shoulders, wear a tank top, and my friends would be like, "What did your boyfriend do to you?" No, it's not. You don't get that many. Like, it's not that often. You know, I think I had a split lip once. You know, because we usually wear protection and we have rules. You know, for not wearing headgear, you punch lightly and stuff like that. You know, you don't go full force to the face. But it's yeah. So I posted that one time. I was like, yes, these are bruises from fighting. Yes, I am okay with this. I am enlightened. You want to talk a quotable movie? I can quote. There's so many great quotes from that movie. This is a chemical burn, but like, I can definitely quote that movie front to back. And there's another scene. There's a scene where Helena Bonham Carter's character, where Marla. That was a Friends quote in our yearbook. Was if I had a tumor, I'd name it Marla.
I thought you were gonna say I haven't been fucked like that since grade school. That's like the line that I remember off the top of my head.
That's a line. But no, there's a part where she tells him that he has like serious issues and he needs help or something like that. I paraphrased that line once and said it to a teacher of mine. She was not happy. That was fun. That was an immortal death throwing incident. I told her she had deeply rooted psychological issues, for which she should seek help immediately, which is almost a direct quote from that. And I didn't even realize that at the time when I said that. And I went back and watched the movie. I was like, oh, that's where I got that from. So that's definitely. And actually, my friend who showed me the film was really into Chuck Palahniuk, and I read a bunch of Chuck Palahniuk novels as a result of that, which was an experience. I still don't know if I'm a Chuck Palahniuk fan or not. Yeah. But I love that film. I absolutely love it.
It's a good movie. I like it a lot. That was one where I knew the twist before I ever saw it. Still didn't change my appreciation for the movie.
I didn't, but it's one of those ones that, like, knowing the twist, that's like a watch twice, you know, because even knowing the twist, there's still, like, after you see it unravel, there's just stuff when you go back and watch where you're like, that moment and that moment and that moment and this. It's a lot of fun. Where you start to realize, because the thing I never picked up on the first time through was he never says his name. And it's so obvious when you watch it again. You know, there's so many moments when he should, you know, like when he calls up Tyler Durden for the first time and he's like, That Matlock Man's got the quote. But you are intolerable. You have serious emotional problems, deep-seated problems for which you should seek professional help. That's the line that I paraphrase. So I know who Chuck Palahniuk is, Edward Marlis. I don't know if Jeff does, but I do.
Yeah, I know, because isn't there like there's Fight Club comics and all kinds of extra stuff outside of that one movie.
He wrote the Fight Club. The movie is based on a book.
I know that. I'm just saying he wrote more stuff,
but it's based on a book that he wrote. So yeah. That's. And then he wrote a bunch of other. Choke is a really good. Actually, Chuck. I really like the book Choke. That's Chuck Palahniuk. I do enjoy that book. It's great. Mark C figured out when he beats himself in this also. Yeah, they give it away in that scene. He was like, this weirdly reminded me of our first fight, like me and Tyler's first fight. But yeah, when he first called up Tyler Durden, he's like, oh, it's me, the guy from the plane. Like that's sort of you should have said it there. When Marla says, this doesn't say your name, what should I call you? Which one is, and all that stuff. There's all these little references. I really, really enjoy that. And then all the little single frames that they splice into the film. Like, actually, it's really funny. You can see it's the first moment, and it's relational because it goes back to his insomnia when, or the first moment when he becomes Tyler Durden, is you see the clip of it. You see one of the frames of it. So it's it's fun going back through that one. All right, your number 7.
My number 7.
Or we on 8. We're on 8. Sorry.
Oh my, yeah. I was like, I don't want to talk about Wayne's World again unless you want to. My number 8 is Ghostbusters. I love Ghostbusters. Realistically, to make this list, I had to go pull out all the shit on that's like I have double stacked shelves for Blu-rays because I don't have enough space for them, and I had to go back and look at everything. And then Ghostbusters literally fell off. I'm like, Ghostbusters, why isn't this on my fucking list? I've watched Ghostbusters countless times. Ghostbusters is a lot like Star Wars for me, where it has a big payoff at the end, and I feel very satisfied. So obviously, all movies build up to a climax and ending, but with this one, the big payoff is the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, the explosion, all that stuff on the roof of the building. Love it. Ghostbusters to me is a lot of fun because obviously it's quotable. It really is just one story. 2 I don't like. But it's quotable. It has great, memorable characters. I mean, even if you take the Ghostbusters out, you got Janine, who's great and memorable. Walter Peck, who I met is one of the nicest actors ever. What's his fucking face? Rick Moranis is amazing in that movie. What's his name? Louis Tully. Like, I just love all the characters. I love the story. Ghostbusters is kind of that thing that never died and won't. And I think the Ghostbusters 2016 movie showed that like old stuff has a lot of value to this day. No matter how far removed we are from 1984, people still care about that movie. And somebody like me who didn't grow up watching the movie that much or playing with the toys in the cartoon, I just like it as a movie itself. I'm not, I didn't dress up as the Ghostbusters and have that attachment. I just think as a movie, it works really well. It's funny. The jokes are great. Timeless. I'd say Ghostbusters is a timeless movie. And the only thing I like to do to Ghostbusters fans to rub it in their face is when I meet them and they go, oh, it's one of the best movies ever. I always say Beverly Hills Cop was more successful because it was. And they hate that. So,
funny.
Yeah.
I like Ghostbusters. I agree with everything you say about it. Definitely timeless. I've seen it a handful of times. I like it a lot. Wouldn't put it in my top 10, but it's definitely a solidly good movie. No argument there.
I've seen it a lot. Yeah. There were certain movies that I wanted to put on this list, but I was like, do I like them more than Ghostbusters? I don't think so. Like Fletch, that's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Never saw it.
I'll show it to you one time. You have to be sober for it because it's not, I guess somebody told me it was a noir once. I don't know. But it's a lot like Beverly Hills Cop is. And I've also been told Beverly Hills Cop is noir by this girl in my college class.
Yeah, Beverly Hills Cop is a neo-noir.
Well, then Fletch is too. You might enjoy Fletch. It's very, very dry, but very funny.
Okay. But that's that's the whole, yeah. How much do you know about the film noir genre?
In a different way than you, because I try to mimic a lot of that in the art. So I study like the imagery part, but not necessarily the story beats.
Gotcha. So you know the reason why it came to be?
Tell me.
It was film noir started during the World War II. And as part of not World War. Before that, it was during the Depression. Film noir started during the Depression when studios had to cut costs, and so one of the things that was very expensive on a studio set back then was running all the lights. So running the lights, it was a huge huge overhead for the electricity bill. So they just realized it wasn't practical. So they were like, well, how do we keep making movies How do we keep making movies without lighting these big sets and these big studios and things like that? And so they just recreated how lighting worked, essentially. That's why, I mean, that's literally where film noir means film black, which means that's because it's dark. So all of those, so they just figured out ways, and it was actually really innovative, because one of your classic noir shots is the light coming through the slitted blinds, right? That's one of your classic film noir shots. And it was great because you could create a beautiful and exciting visual effect using just one powerful light rather than, the whole studio in different angles. You could keep certain areas dark and just directionally. So that was really when lighting became part of the story in filmmaking. So noir did that. And then, of course, from there, everyone realized what you could actually do in a film with lighting. And so that's why everything post-Depression is a neo-noir, because it's made in the style to honor the original. The original was done out of necessity. That's why just in the vernacular, a neo-noir versus a proper film noir. So anything like Chinatown, and there was a big resurgence of neo-noirs in the 70s that's just told in the same. So it's not just to make it a noir, it's not just the voice, it's also the shooting, the lighting, the framing, the shot composition. But essentially, like, plot wise, it's you always have a detective or somebody, a private investigator, detective, who ends up on their own. Essentially, they're uncovering some plot that has some layer. Usually there's a double crosser, and
this is the plot to Fletch right now, so you might want to stop so you don't ruin the movie for yourself.
If it's a neo noir, you already know.
It's a joke. God damn.
I'm saying, so there's somebody, so it's all these things are they, there's, and then the femme fatale, of course.
Well, I didn't know noir was created out of necessity. That's like, in Japan, a lot of the animation stuff. That's why in America, Japan's always for kids, or not in America, animation's always for kids. In Japan, it's more all ages because they were bombed. What did they do? That was a quick way to recover. So a lot of their animation goes adult to kid, and that's why it's acceptable there and not here. So I always like when certain things are created out of necessity, because I think you actually create something better than when you have complete artistic freedom.
I agree. Actually, I think a lot of filmmakers do their best work earlier in their career, or when they're operating under certain constraints, like adapting things or what have you. Because when you have restrictions, you have checks and balances. Every artist needs limitations.
We should have a noir month, like when maybe after we come back from that tournament in February, we could just watch some noir movies, like we'll rent a bunch and get some food and hang out.
Chinatown?
I've seen Chinatown, yeah. I like it.
We don't have to watch that one, though.
It's fine. We don't have to watch it again.
I've seen it, and no, because that was the thing, was like I took a lot of film classes. Every film class shows you Chinatown. So I've seen it like a million times, all through film classes. It's a great movie, but I'm just like, all right, enough. He's my father. He's my husband, oh God, or my brother, my father, whatever the fuck.
We don't have to watch it. Trust me. I'm just saying, like, we'll watch the Maltese Falcon. That was brought up in the chat. I asked you if you had seen it earlier.
Yeah, I do want to watch that one. I want to watch it.
I actually have a book on film noir somewhere in here because I use it for art. Like, spoiler, there's a part in the comic that's like a very noir part for tension and drama. So I love that kind of stuff. I like to study it.
All right, so my number 9. We're on number 9 now, right?
Yes. Let's see. Yes, number 9.
So my number 9 is Dirty Dancing.
That's fine. This is like the first movie that made me think like, oh, you're normal.
I didn't see it until I was like 16. We'd owned it. We'd had it on VHS in the house. I just thought it was some dumb old movie that my mom liked, and I'd never watched it. And I come home from camp one day or something, or from being somewhere. My sister was like, "Jessi, you have to watch Dirty Dancing," and I was like, "Okay." So we sat down and we watched it, and I was like,
"Did you have the time of your life?"
I had the time of my life. And I watched it again the next day, and the next day, and I think I watched it like 8 more times that summer. And like that movie to me is not even just a movie. That's just like a state of being for me. And I'm like, let's feel good about life. Let's just put on Dirty Dancing and just live in that. It's such a great movie, and it's such a fun blend of 60s and 80s too, musically, because they use a lot of songs that were contemporary for the time, but it's set in the 60s. Um, it's just so charming. It's this great, like, it's such an innocent loss of innocence film. Like it's a loss of innocence film that somehow maintains its innocence in a way. And covers like heavy themes too, like abortion, and that shit. But the dancing, it's a different kind of dance, not what you see, in a lot of the movies, the choreography and all that stuff. I mean, the choreographed stuff was great too, but it was just like, it's sexy, it's funny, it's charming, it's moving. I will not watch Havana Nights; it doesn't exist as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, it just has everything. It has everything in it. It has a Jennifer Grey before her nose job. The acting is great. It's the fucking dad is the guy from whatever the thing that the people loved. He was in
That's the best description.
He was in a TV show.
Let me look it up. Keep going.
Like a really popular TV show that I just never watched.
Dirty Dancing's 87. I didn't realize it was that late.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the late 80s.
Oh, Jerry Orbach from fucking Law and Order.
Yeah, okay. So yeah.
Wayne Knight's in that movie. Damn.
Yeah.
I've only seen Dirty Dancing maybe twice. It's not the kind of movie.
Accidentally watching it again.
It's fine. It's not really a hard sell. It's fine. It just exists in this area. It's like, I look at the 80s as the best of pop culture, and that's one of the bigger ones. So I've watched it out of like, I love 80s stuff. I got to see it all. So I've watched it. It's fun.
That was, for me, that was not where I discovered Patrick Swayze from, but when I found out he was in that movie, I was like, holy shit, how have I not watched this before? And then that was the youngest I'd seen him, and I was like, oh my God.
I always think of him in Point Break first.
That's where I know him from first.
Odie.
That's where I first met him, as it were.
I love that movie. It's so dumb. I'm an FBI agent.
Give me two. Such a good one. Anyway. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, Dirty Dancing is just hanging out there on the list. It could be 10, but it's just up there. It could be higher, it could be lower. It's up there. I love it. It's amazing. It's brilliant.
Do you cry in it?
No.
Good.
Nothing to cry about in it. But there's some moments that I just find absolutely like the moment when they're in the car driving back from when she does the dance, fills in to do the dance, and they're kind of like trying not to look at each other, but they're both looking at each other. Like that's the moment where they fall in love. It's great. I love the moment in chick flicks where the characters fall in love before the people realize that they did. Like before the characters realize that they did. Like you and I, we have that moment.
I was just about to say like us.
That's why I love us.
Gone back and realized where it was, even though neither of us knew at the time.
And I love that. It makes that so charming for me. I fucking love it. So yeah. And the moment, oh God, there's one of my favorite moments acting wise in it where he's being weird about it the next day after they bang. And she like wants to know that they're okay, but she's like, can you see me later? He's like, I got stuff to do and all this stuff. And then he goes to leave and she calls his name and this is like probably one of Jennifer Grey's greatest lines ever. And she just says his name, but there's the raw emotion and desperation and need in it is like so palpable. And then he turns around and looks at her and just gives her this smile and you're like, everything's going to be okay. And she's like, oh, it's so beautiful. But then the little speech she has when she comes into his room right before they bang, that whole scene is like, oh my God, I just die. Like that scene where she comes into his room and they start dancing and they have sex is like one of them, for me, just one of the most romantic things ever put on film ever. The end.
So I guess we're going to watch that in California together. Have you dance around the apartment?
That was something, I was in college when he died. And it was weird. We had been planning. My friends and I were planning on watching Dirty Dancing that day anyway. And then he died that day, and we're like, oh, now we really have to watch it.
You know what? Remember how you said yesterday on the stream how I was going to pick you up to get stuff off your shelf? You should run to me, and I'll lift you up just like in the fucking
do that! Yay! My sister and I used to do that in the pool with each other, like in the swimming pool. We used to do that all the time.
That's the only part I remember from the movie is the ending when he comes in the door. Nobody puts baby in the corner or whatever.
It's a great line.
She kind of does that weird thing, and then she runs to him. I'm like, all right, cool. You know, normally when I think of 80s love stories, I think of what was the one I was thinking of off the top of my head? Fatal Attraction.
Oh, how romantic.
I'm just joking. I tried to pick the exact opposite of what Dirty Dancing is. That's a fucked up movie, but I like it, but it's fucked up.
All right,
I
you're
like
number 9.
My number 9 is Beetlejuice. You watched me watch this at your house when I was really sick. Beetlejuice has just always been something that's been there for, not for me, but, with me. As a kid, I got into it with the cartoon. And so when I first saw the movie when I was a little older, I didn't realize Beetlejuice was the bad guy. And for a while, I didn't like the movie because I thought, oh, he's the hero of the story. It's not the case in the movie. But it's one of those things, it was there for me, or there with you from the beginning, and you just kind of love it. And I watch it. I own it on all the formats. I watch it not even around Halloween, just all year. It's a fun movie. And I've always liked horror, but it's not horror. It's kind of dark, a little macabre at times, a little weird. I'm not a Tim Burton guy, but it's like Tim Burton with the brakes on. And when you have that, you have Beetlejuice, which I like. So Michael Keaton's awesome. Again, you have just a whole cast of people that are excellent. Because there are a lot, like I said, there are a ton of movies you could watch where it's like, well, this person's in it, but they don't do jack shit. Their character adds nothing. Everybody in the Beetlejuice, like in the house, Adam, Barbara, the entire Dietz family and Otho, they're all great. Beetlejuice is great. You got the memorable visuals, and it's dated, but in a good way. The only thing that sucks about that, remember how last night we were talking about sometimes you don't need to see movies in high def? Beetlejuice is the only time where I'll ever concede that point to you because there are a couple special effect shots that weren't finished and look terrible when you see it in high def. And I'm just like, okay, but it's still the movie I love. And it's got a great score, too. That's one thing I was trying not to do with a lot of these movies is talk about the music for like an hour, but the Beetlejuice score is awesome.
Honestly, though, that's a lot of my favorite films. The score is a huge part of why they are. Like, if you go through my top 5, with the exception of The Princess Bride, though I have, like, that song at the end is such a guilty pleasure song for me. The music for my top 4 is critical to my enjoyment of those films.
Well, if you notice my list, a lot of them are like the MTV style. They have a big, like, multi-song soundtrack. Back to the Future, Die Hard, Beverly Hills Cop, Big Lebowski, Wayne's World, Ghostbusters just had the song, but still.
Mine are all, like, my top 4 just score. Not necessarily the songs. And, yeah, there were the songs for Mission Impossible 2, but or the 4 of my 5, rather, I should say, because it's just the score. I love the score. For me, though, like, Dirty Dancing has the soundtrack, like the songs as well in there. Indiana Jones, the score, of course.
I have that on my phone. I don't talk about listening to it, but there's a specific part when remember when they're looking for him as he's getting on the submarine and they're like, Jones, I found him. I'm like, that's just a cool part right there.
Yeah.
The music sounds really great.
But then there's also Fight Club. Trent Reznor did some of the music. Was one of the guys who did the music for Fight Club, and it's awesome.
You know me, and I love my Beverly Hills Cop score, not the actual movie soundtrack that got released and sold all those records. The score. That's just the background music. That's one of my favorite parts of it.
Yep. So yeah.
Are we on 10 now?
I guess so.
Jeez, we finally made it to the end. I'm not just saying this to be nice. This is probably the best stream I think we've ever done for like fun. Like I like doing streams with you, but there hasn't been a boring moment. Because one, I get to learn about the shit you're into because we're going to be together, so I'm going to have to watch these things eventually. But none of them bother me. Like even though we talk about Lord of the Rings, I was actually thinking to myself, I'm a big Legend of Zelda fan. I think I do like certain fantasy, just not all of it, but I haven't seen this movie, so there's a chance I might still not hate it. So, love Legend of Zelda.
So my 10 is a tie. They couldn't be more different.
All right.
Because it's between The Godfather,
okay,
and Point Break.
Well, all right. If you're gonna sit me down and ask me which one I'd rather watch, I don't know. I like them both. I've seen The Godfather.
It's hard. Like Point Break is less of a commitment because Godfather is almost 3 hours.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick that.
So that's the thing. The Godfather is much more of a commitment. It's a much heavier film. Point Break is fluffy. It's easy to watch. it's a one that's personal for me. You know, I discovered this film. This was like in 7th grade. I went to we went on a Science Olympiad field trip. Was that 7th grade or was that 6th grade? It might have been 6th grade that we went. Yeah, no, it was 6th grade. I'm 12 years old. We get to go on the Science Olympiad field trip. And we're in the meeting we're in the meeting beforehand because because teachers are telling us, well, this is great. I mean, it's one of the first times like we're going on an overnight trip, as kids. So we're like, okay, we're gonna go. I think it was the Invitational, which was in Zanesville, Ohio. So,
I know where that is.
It's in your state, which honestly could have been the first time I was ever in Ohio. No, I don't think it was. I think it was a kid. We were there to visit relatives once. But Zanesville, Ohio. So they tell us, they're like, you have a curfew and you need to be in your room after that point. Like, you guys can't be in each other's rooms all after that point. And we're going to put a piece of tape on the door, and we're going to check your doors in the morning before you leave. And if the tape's broken, we'll know that you left in the night and you'll get in trouble. And so I raise my hand, and they call on me, and I say, what kind of tape do you use on the door? And he just looks at me and goes, I've heard about you. And I was like, my reputation precedes me. But we were figuring out the roommates for it, and it was like, it was sort of this, it was a thing. So I had a bunch of friends who were going, and there were like the 4 friends that I really wanted a room with. But they ended up all rooming with each other. So me and my other friend, who I love, especially more now, but at the time she was like she was like a year and a half younger than I was. But I didn't know because she lied about her age. She was only a year younger. I didn't find out until way, way later. That's a whole other story. So, and she was very sheltered, and so she kind of latched onto me when we first met each other, and like she would call me every single night. I still tease her about that to this day. She's still a really, really good friend. She's doing her residency at Christiana College in Delaware, so hopefully we'll get to meet her. That's not that far from Philly, so hopefully we'll get to meet her when you're over Thanksgiving, because she's one of my best friends still.
Cool.
But this was like,
talk about her.
If you what?
I think I've heard you talk about her. What was positive you have?
Yeah, Adrian. You've definitely heard me talk about Adrian. So this was like one of the things, I don't know if you've ever had this with your friends, where it's like you're kind of friends, or maybe you're not even friends. Because I had one friend that I was somebody I wasn't even friends with until that bonding moment. But like, this was our moment where we like solidified our friendship. Where like she was obsessed with me, I was like, you're weird, and so then we were going to room together for Science Olympiad, and I was like, oh god, I wish I was rooming with my other friends. It'd be way more fun. Adrian's gonna be annoying all night. Like, I'm not gonna stand it. Like, the cool thing was it was just the 2 of us, so we got our own beds. But everyone else had like room, they put 4 in a room, so you had to double up and stuff. But I was like, fine, you know what? If it's going to be me and her, I'm excited for this trip. I'm going to make the most of it. So we got really stoked to do it. I brought a 2-liter bottle of Pepsi that we drank all of in this crazy sugar high. And then we stayed up late watching TV. And that was when I saw Trigun for the first time. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And I will never remember or I'll never forget this line with this one guy. He's like, in this game, the losers don't go home. They go to hell. And I was like, that's ridiculous.
So you were watching Toonami essentially at night.
Probably. We were flipping through, and then we flipped to something, and it's just this movie, Point Break. We might have been going through the TV guide, and we see Point Break is coming on. And we're like, we've never heard of this movie. But we see Keanu Reeves is in this, and we both think Keanu Reeves is very attractive. So we're like, let's watch it. We don't even know who Patrick Swayze is at this point. We put this movie on, and we're like, oh my God. So the next day, my 4 friends have been in the room together. Like, we had such a great time. Like, what did you do? We were like, guys, we discovered Point Break. And then we got it and made all our friends watch it. And they're like, oh my God, this is incredible. And it was just like, I mean, we are women hitting puberty, watching Keanu Reeves undercover as a surfer, palling around with Patrick Swayze as a surfer. This was a moment. This was a moment. But it has a very special place in my heart as a result of that. I also love the fact people want to talk about like women directing movies and the kind of movies women make. Like Catherine Bigelow directed that film way before all the acclaim for The Hurt Locker and then Zero Dark 30. Catherine Bigelow fucking made Point Break, which is as dude a movie as any movie has ever been.
Who directed Wayne's World?
What?
A woman directed Wayne's World.
There you go.
A good director, you don't even need to care about what's between their legs. If it's a great movie, it's a great fucking movie.
Exactly. It has nothing to do with it. And Tank Girl taught him how to surf. That's right. That's where I discovered Lori Petty, whom I met a couple years ago, which was awesome. So, and she was so cool. So yeah, I mean, Lori Petty's fantastic. Patrick Swayze. One of my favorite lines. It's just like when Patrick Swayze shows up, it's like breakaway. He's like, seriously, war child, chill. And just like him saying, seriously, war child, it just like fucking kills me. And then Gary Busey is just Gary Busey.
I met Gary Busey once. He was weird.
I'm not surprised.
We were in a bar.
Wow. I say, is he as batshit in real life as he seems like he is?
Yeah, so I was at a horror convention with my cousin, and we had seen Gary Busey at the table, and it was the most bizarre thing because I'm like, it was my first time going to one. I'm like, oh my God, it's Gary Busey. And he's like taking a family photo with somebody. And like normally, like somebody will stand up from the table and smile. He gets like behind this family, and there's a little kid, maybe like 5 or 6, and he like crouches down behind him. He's like this. And I just saw the picture being taken. It was so surreal. So then my cousin and I, this was Indianapolis, and we didn't really want to drive back right away. So we stay there, and we go to this bar that's in the hotel. And we're hanging out with people that were in the movie The Thing, and they're talking to us. And all of a sudden, here comes Gary Busey, and like he just has that wide-eyed look, and he's just there like this. And it was the most like unsettling thing I'd ever seen in person, because like, oh, hey, Gary Busey. It was weird. He wasn't drinking; he had a Coca-Cola in his hand. I guess he used to be an alcoholic or something, but he was drinking a Coca-Cola. It's just like this.
Oh God!
Yeah,
He just seems terrifying. Oh God! Oh man! But yeah, so I love that movie.
a lot of fun. I caught it a couple years ago for the first time.
Really, oh God, it's just so fun. It's such a delight. Like it's silly, it's ridiculous, it's charming, it's unnecessarily dramatic at points. But there's some really beautiful, heartfelt moments in it too. So, you're about to jump out of a perfectly good airplane. Yeah, it's a great line. But it's so well suited for Keanu Reeves because, you know, like he's just playing a surfer. So he just gets to use the voice and it's just like great. Whoa.
I still love him in Bill and Ted.
Gal here, a horror convention, not a horror convention.
It wasn't in Vegas, so. When is AVN?
We're never going to that.
I really don't want to go. I'm just
my ex had a friend who worked for the AVNs, and so they went. He and his friends went a few times, and he was like, it was just unsettlingly trashy.
I would never want to go, but my cousin owns a business here in town, and he was out there for business during that convention, like not going to it, but just during there. And I think that was the night he met Jay-Z. So,
all right,
yeah.
But yeah, and so that against The Godfather, which obviously I love for entirely different reasons, which was something I'd seen the first time, I think when I was 17, and I did this. It's my first like serious film study class. It was a summer session. I went to Yale and I did this 6-week film acting intensive. And I was looking for something theater related, and this was the thing that I wanted to do because it was one of the few programs I could find that was specifically acting for the camera. And I wanted to do that. I knew I liked film better than stage. And so one of the parts of this class, it was really cool. It was 4 days a week. And then we had nightly screenings. So we watched tons of movies. So those 4 days a week, we had a screening in the evening. And we watched, Ron Gallagher's disappointed that it was not a horror convention. And so we saw all sorts of great films. It was my first time watching a lot of greats. It might have been my first time seeing Blade Runner. It was my first time seeing The Godfather. It was my first time seeing Chinatown. It was my first time seeing The Big Sleep. There were other ones that I watched that I'd seen before, but there were so many great movies that we covered during that time. And I just remember just being so enraptured by The Godfather. We might have even watched part 2 that same the same class, like we might have done 1 and 2.
Oh, that's a lot of movie watching.
Not in the same screening, but like during the course of that class.
I've seen both of those.
Desire for the first time, so we all came back to our courtyard afterwards and just yelled, "Hey, Stella!" at the windows at each other.
Marlon
Brando. What?
I just said Marlon Brando. When I first saw him when he was young, compared to because I was used to fat old Marlon Brando on TV, And then I was like, wait, that's that guy? No.
Such a different animal. Such a different animal. And it, yeah, just, yeah. So I watched a lot. I saw a lot of wonderful, wonderful movies for that. One of the really cool things we got to do too, and I've never forgotten some of these, they had these collections. I want to buy some of these too sometimes. They had these great collections of like various award-winning or nominated short films. And so we would do one of our nights each week would be just like an hour of watching all of these short films. And there's some I don't remember the titles of, but some of them just stayed with me. Like, I mean, there was one that was like, a sailor's girl always stuck with me. I want to try to find that one and show that one to you. I won't give it away to you, but it was it's chill. And there's some of these, oh God, that other one. And there's some of these things you can do with short films that are just so chilling in ways that like you just encapsulate the story in this perfect little way. There's a great one where it was like this person, and whenever I also want to see if I wonder if I have that on paper anywhere, the curriculum, because it had all the short films that we watched on it. It was one where it was like this guy started going to sleep, and then he woke up in a different world and like a sort of another dimension, and sort of he went to sleep there. It was weird back and forth. There was this absolutely beautiful one where it was this guy was working at a junkyard. He would work the overnight shift at a junkyard, and I can't remember if you saw the text or the message or whatever it was. So he's talking, you assume it's his girlfriend because he's having this fight. I think it was a Jessi or something like that. And maybe he's leaving messages and they're fighting, and Jessi doesn't want to talk to him and this whole thing. So he's at this junkyard and he's dealing with all this stuff. And like, he doesn't want to talk to Jessi, and is all like, tripping out over it though. And they're in this huge fight. And then while he's distracted from all of this, somebody breaks into the junkyard. This like hooded young guy breaks into the junkyard and gets ripped to shreds by the junkyard dogs, and dies. So the kid catches it too late to save this guy. And I think just sees it on the monitors and calls the police, and they come and deal with all of this. And so he gets sent home and is like having this change of heart, is like, I should, and stops to get flowers on the way home and to bring to Jessi, and is all like, I should make amends and all that, and gets home and is looking for Jessi, and Jessi isn't there. And then what you realize is that Jesse's a guy they were dating. He's the one who tried to come see him, and he's the one. And it's just like, oh my God, a knife in the heart the way they do it. And it's so brilliant. And it's like the kind of thing it wouldn't have, it's such a contained, that's why I love it with short films. It's this contained story that just is, oh my God, it was heartbreaking. I've never forgotten it. It was just heartbreaking.
Now you know why I like the Twilight Zone so much.
Yeah, and you have great moment, like vignette style TV shows do that effectively as well. And I love it for that reason.
I still want to watch that, even though you spoiled the twist.
You do. You absolutely do want to watch it. It's beautifully shot. I have to remember the name of it. I don't even know how to find it. I have to remember the name and go and see if I can find it.
Junkyard Jessi.
Huh?
Junkyard Jessi. There you go. That's all you do is watch. I'll Google a short. We'll see if we can find it.
I'm not even positive.
Short film Junkyard Jessi.
I'm not even positive the name was Jessi, but check.
Well. There's a movie called Jessi, a short film.
No.
But that's on Indiegogo.
I'm gonna type in. So let's see.
What year did you go? Because this is 2012. There was a junkyard, or a movie called Junkyard. It was 12 or 18 minutes.
No, that's too late. Because this would have been 2007 or 17.
Did you just do a callback to your decade joke?
I know it would have been 2007. I was 17.
Oh, I thought you said it was 2007, 17. Because remember how you fucked up earlier and you added 10. I was like, yeah, that's a nice callback.
Oh.
We're coming to get you, Jessi. Heavy Metal was not on our list. That's a weird movie that I have a love-hate relationship with. I love to watch it, but I actually dislike the movie. I can't describe why I watch it.
Which one? What?
Heavy Metal. You ever seen that?
No.
It's animation. So Heavy Metal is a magazine, but it's based off this French magazine called Metal Hurlant. It's comics essentially, but they're adult ones. So there's a real famous artist named Mobius who worked on The Fifth Element, and basically they adapted the Americanized magazine in 1981. Was it 81 or 83? I don't remember. But it has like Harold Ramis, John Candy, Eugene Levy, all these really famous people that worked on it. But it's like got tits and gore and violence and everything you can imagine in it. So we could watch it for the sake of like it being art, but I hate watching it for some reason. I don't know how to describe my feelings towards it.
Fair enough.
So are we going to The Godfather? Or you just want me to give my 10?
I mean, I saw it when I was. I loved it. It was a soundtrack I adore. I learned how to play part of that on the mandolin. Yeah, Michael Corleone in the restaurant with Sollozzo is really brilliant. It's one of those movies where you do pick up new things each and every time you watch it.
How do you feel about crime gangster movies in general?
I like gangster films. I like all kinds too. I like crime movies and gangster movies, and I like the lighter, funner ones. Things like Ocean's 11 or The Italian Job, and like really gritty ones like The Godfather or The Departed.
You like Goodfellas?
I love Goodfellas.
That Casino.
So my screenplay, I say that when I'm going for a tonal mix of the Goodfellas and Godfather. So
I'll be there at the premiere with you. So
hooray! But did you ever see Mean Streets?
No, that's not Sean Penn, is it?
No.
What? There's a shitty crime movie with Sean Penn. Anyway, no, I haven't seen.
This was one of Scorsese's first film, maybe. But it was one of Scorsese's really early films. It's an early De Niro film too. It might have been De Niro's breakout role. And yeah, it was. I love that stuff. That's okay. So here's a question: when you watch a mob movie, like The Godfather or Godfather, less so because it's more like inner family and less the police involvement. But a mob movie, something like The Departed, where the law closes in eventually and stuff like that, or like what was any one of these true story ones. Are you rooting for the mob or for the law?
Never really the law. So I've seen a ton of mob movies, a lot of them, on repeat viewings. I usually think of I always think about Grand Theft Auto, because all the old Grand Theft Autos are really based heavily, especially 3, on old mob movies. So you get a lot of that stuff. I kind of just side with whoever the protagonist is.
Yeah.
So in Goodfellas, it's like Henry Hill. I kind of so
that's the thing for me too. I even realized this when I went to the mob museum, which we should consider actually going through that museum before we start drinking.
It's in Vegas.
Yeah, that's where we're doing the drinking thing.
Then let's go there first, and then we'll start the drinking thing.
It's in the speakeasy is in the mob museum.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm ready. I can do the tour before we start drinking. I like mob stuff. When I was in college, one of the last papers I ever wrote was on the St. Valentine's Day Massacre.
Nice. This museum has actually a piece of that wall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They have one of Al Capone's guns too. This is a super legit museum. But yeah, even when I go through there and I'm reading the stories of these mobsters, I find myself rooting for them. I
like Scarface. I hate that he dies at the end.
I've actually never seen that Scarface. I've seen the old movie Scarface that was made in the black and white one that was made a million years
or something. Yeah.
What?
I think 1932 or something like that.
Yeah, 31, I think, actually. Yeah. I've seen that one. That's a really good movie.
Well, we'll watch the Al Pacino one.
Okay. I've always wanted to see it. I just never...
we should watch that, and then I want to show you the first episode of Miami Vice. Because the show, for a 1980s show, when you think of 80s show, you think of shit like A-Team, Family Ties, just kind of light, funny, not real serious. Miami Vice is like watching a mini movie every week, and they cover a lot of that. So if you like that type of crime, in that location, the first season is solid, and the fucking cameos Bruce Willis and all those people are great.
You watched Burn Notice, right?
Every episode until I didn't see the last season, but I watched it.
You said you haven't seen The Fall of Sam Axe though.
No,
that's it's really good. We should
watch it.
It was a little mini movie they made. But
I have the DVD sets over here. That was one of my favorites. That and Dexter, where I wanted to move to Miami for a while. I was I love Miami. I love all these shows. Miami Vice. Shit, I should be there.
I really like that show. But So one of the things I love about The Godfather, though, is the background and how intrinsically a part. And that was something I learned even more about when I took a 1970s film class. We watched it again, and we talked a lot about the history and Coppola making that film. The reason that we have The Godfather as it exists in its version is because George Lucas's THX 1138 was a failure.
Good.
Because do you know about American Zoetrope?
Mm-hmm.
So it was what, him and Spielberg and Coppola.
Was Spielberg in it?
I think so. Yeah.
I always thought he wasn't, but I could be wrong.
I thought he was part of it. But I know like Lucas and Coppola were really good friends. They were big.
Brian De Palma in it? Is that who you're thinking of?
Maybe. I thought Spielberg was a part of it.
I'll look it up.
We can figure it out anyway. But so a bunch of these guys are making movies and whatnot, and the first project that they financed was the was THX 1138. And it did horribly. It was a total flop. And it sucked all the money out and basically practically was going to ruin American Zoetrope. And the whole reason behind doing this is they wanted to make their own independent films where they weren't beholden to a studio and they could do what they wanted. They could have their artistic integrity. So when the studio approached Coppola to do The Godfather, he was very opposed to that. He was like, no, I want to do my own things. But Lucas, realizing this was going to be a huge financial success, or had the potential to be, pressured Coppola into doing it because he felt so guilty about draining all the money from THX 1138. And this actually was really cool to learn about because the woman who taught this class was not just like some teacher who read these things. Like, she was part of the film scene during this era. And she was friends with some of these people. Like, she used to date Richard Chew. Which is why
Spielberg's nowhere near.
No, he wasn't. My mistake. But anyway, so she actually used to date Richard Chew, which is why I had an hour-long phone interview with him. And if he hasn't changed his number, I still have his number. So
I feel like he's so not famous that he has the same phone number.
He probably does. But that was a fantastic conversation.
Ooh, American Zoetrope made The Outsiders?
Yeah.
I saw that movie in grade school. We had to read the book.
I might have seen that one for the first time in that film class back then.
That was another book I remember reading as a kid, and I just didn't enjoy it.
I didn't read the book. I liked the movie. Wasn't that Tom Cruise's first role?
I don't know. Let's look.
Pony Boy.
1983. Yeah, I didn't realize Coppola directed this. Yeah, we watched this because we read the book. Let's see. It's got a hell of a cast, though.
Yeah.
C. Thomas Howell, Rob Lowe, Emilio Estevez, Matt Dillon, Tom Cruise, Patrick Swayze, Ralph Macchio, Diane Lane. Oh. It doesn't. Is it Tom Cruise's first movie? Let me look. Keep talking. I don't want the dead air for the people.
But that was a huge for a lot of those guys. Anyway, no. So when the studio offered Coppola The Godfather, they had it at a lower budget, and they wanted to modernize it. Basically, they wanted to set it. They wanted to basically be what Scarface was. Scarface was when they made that.
Thankfully, that didn't happen because that would have been terrible in 1971.
The whole thing, yeah, because the whole thing was they wanted to cast. They wanted it to be in Miami, and they wanted to be the drugs instead of the old New York City with the booze. They didn't want to do the period piece. They wanted modern times.
That would have been weird though, because 1971 we didn't even really have the cocaine cowboy. That's something I don't talk about. That I'm really fascinated by, the whole cocaine cowboy culture. I love that shit. You make a movie about that, I'll fucking watch it. By the way, Tom Cruise's first film was Endless Love.
Oh, okay, so I think this might have been his breakout role then, like one that.
Yeah, well, his third movie was The Outsiders.
I think that was his breakout role.
Yeah.
So it was the kind of thing where it's like, yeah, they were trying. Well, because it would have been. I mean, they even touch on it in the original film of like that was the time when the mob was getting its hands into drugs, and that was whole. Vito Corleone didn't want to do that, and that was why they wanted to kill him and all that stuff. So
that's another reason you might like the movie Fletch, because apparently the character had just watched The Godfather. So when he gets into situations, he's like, "Hi, I'm Mo Green about the Tropicana and all this shit." Like he just randomly says shit about The Godfather. So I had seen Fletch probably 30 times before I saw The Godfather, and now I'm like, I get all these references.
Yep.
The Godfather was great. I loved it. It was on Netflix, and I watched it earlier this year, right before I met you, probably.
Was your first time?
Yeah.
Wow.
I still haven't seen Citizen Kane.
Have you seen part 2?
Yeah. I had seen that in school. We watched that in high school.
So you saw Godfather Part 2 before?
In high school, we had to watch it for something. I went,
that was the only film where the film and the sequel won Best Picture, I believe, and the only time two different actors have won the same award or have won an Academy Award for playing the same role.
Al Pacino and Marlon Brando.
No, Robert De Niro.
Yeah, Al Pacino's his son.
Yeah. So fun little shit. So a lot of fun trivia about it. But yeah, but Coppola had to fight the studio on everything. He had to push to expand the budget. He had to push to get Al Pacino and Diane Keaton were both unknowns at that time. So he had to fight for both of them. Marlon Brando was considered over the hill at that time, so he had to fight for that for him. And without him, we wouldn't have had that masterpiece. So.
You ever seen Dog Day Afternoon with Al Pacino? Mm-hmm. It's a good movie. I really like Al Pacino movies.
I watched that one. I'm trying to remember if I saw that one in college or saw that one back in that film class. It might have been back in that film class.
That was all Netflix for me.
Did I ever show you? I don't know if I showed it to you when you were here because it's hidden behind all the boxes. I have this weird. You're like, what the hell is this? It's the original Dog Day Afternoon movie poster on like foam on a foam board, but it's a pizza's drawn into it, and it's a Dog Day Afternoon with a pizza. And you're like, what the fuck is that? So when Robert Downey Jr. had his 50th birthday party, which I worked at, one of his things in that first room, we were pushing carts around with the appetizers on them, and they all had these signs on them that were all little weird jokes on whatever the food was with a classic movie. And I'm pretty sure he used movies that were like all of his guests had been in them, so Al Pacino got the party. And so he had Dog Day Afternoon with pizza. So that was on my cart. And that was one of the many things I stole from this party. I also stole the outfit I had to wear in that first room. It was all black light. And I was wearing a hazmat suit spattered in Dayglow paint. So I still have that hazmat suit. I have a bottle. They had like glass Fanta bottles. I have one of those from the party. My glasses, my like twisty straw glasses, are from his party. So all this really cool stuff from that. And I've told you my Al Pacino story from that, right?
Mm-hmm. Him and his friend.
Can't take you anywhere, Al. Yeah. But yeah, so that was neat. Yeah, so I have that. I'll show it to you. We'll hang that up when I have space because it's really cool. It's like, it's just a neat piece too. It's like it's completely unique. So,
well, that'll be fun because I liked. Was it Sidney Lumet or whoever directed that movie? Maybe.
And then it was one of John Cazale's few roles as well.
Yeah, I know who that is because he was in The Deer Hunter and he died like with cancer or from cancer. Like, was he dating somebody really famous?
He might have been, but he died really young. He only did like 5 movies, but they were all like he did The Deer Hunter, he did Dog Day Afternoon, he did The Godfather.
Deer Hunter's a fucked up movie.
I actually have never seen that start to finish.
Oh my god, the ending's terrible.
I've seen a lot of clips of it. I know how it goes, but I've seen a lot of clips from it because of film classes and stuff.
I like Christopher Walken a lot.
Yeah, just as I've also seen, I think it was like we were looking at Christopher Walken. That's probably where I saw some clips from that, and I saw that scene from Pennies from Heaven where he does a striptease. That's disturbing.
I don't want to see that. You should watch him in The Dead Zone.
Okay.
It's a good Stephen King adaptation.
I've never seen the movie. I've read the book, but I've never seen the movie.
Then you know the ending, but it's awesome.
But yeah, so yeah, I feel like that encapsulates. And so yeah, it's one of those things like you don't always have these things come together where you have a classic film that was so important and so relevant with all those fun facts and tidbits and stuff that you really viscerally respond to. And I had that with The Godfather. I found Al Pacino's character and his portrayal and that just so gripping, and some of the just brutal moments like Sonny getting mowed down, just like really gritty and fun and all that stuff. So Madaween says Bob Iger to George Lucas, leave the Star Wars treatments, take the cannoli.
Oh, I still have to release that damn video. I made almost a whole video about George Lucas's betrayal. Mm-hmm. And then the news about Kevin Feige came out. So I was like, oh, this is more important. And that video has performed poorly. So I was like, that was not a good decision.
Yeah, nobody cared about that, really, it seemed.
Yeah.
Poorly, too. But yeah, so it's just...
So now, my number 10, it's kind of... I'm just gonna list it as a 3-way tie because I was thinking about whatever. I'll just do a 2-way tie. I'll take one.
That's fine.
Okay, so we talked about emotion, right? So I'm trying to think like it's either a two-way tie between Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the only musical I absolutely love. The Wizard of Oz I like a lot too, but I love Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. But I was trying to think of a movie that's important to me. The Goonies is up there as well as Dumb and Dumber. I'm trying to decide what of those three, because like when it comes to like a definitive list of like television series, I know the hierarchy. But like I can watch the Goonies, like I was watching on the flight out to Vegas. I was like, man, this is just it's hitting you in the right spot. I'm like, I really love the Goonies. I always have. Same thing with Dumb and Dumber. You talked about director's cuts early in our stream. I absolutely hate the director's cut of Dumb and Dumber because it adds jokes, kills the pacing, and cuts out a lot of the music. They finally decided to either pay the licensing or whatever, and on Netflix, the original cut popped up. So I went to watch it, and I was like, oh my God, this is why this is one of my favorite movies of all time. I laughed so hard. I hadn't, laughed like that in a while. And like I said, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is a very special movie for me. I had it on tape as a kid. I watched it on repeat. I don't really I like the music a lot. Candyman song, Pure Imagination, all that shit. Gene Wilder's great. The kids are shit. That's why you like to watch them go. And I just really liked that movie. That's just
it's great because it's just a very satisfying. You talk about like the punishment fitting the crime and all that, or like all that stuff. It is very satisfying to watch them all get taken out.
Well, I think about that movie almost every day because one of my favorite lines of any movie is, you remember what happened to the boy who got everything he ever wanted? He lived happily ever after. I'm like, hey, that's how life can go sometimes. So I really like that scene.
Oh, nice. It's really, and I love the way it ends too. And I also actually that little detail of what's his face, Slugworth being the plant.
Yep.
Just such a great little detail,
Mr. Whatever his name was. Yeah.
Slugworth, yeah.
No, he has a real name that they tell you at the end of the movie.
Oh, at the end, like whatever his real name.
Yeah, it's like Mr. Something. It's like, oh, I thought it was
he's my associate. Wow, yeah.
And he's like, how are you doing, Charlie?
One. Yeah, no, all that.
I like the Blues Brothers, but
I do have Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory on DVD.
I finally bought it. That's a movie I would want to get in high def because of the picture, the clarity and the color and all that stuff when they walk into the whole chocolate factory.
I have to see it. I don't know if I have mine as DVD or Blu-ray. I might have the Blu-ray. So.
If you have it on Blu-ray, let me know because I'll never buy a copy.
I will tell you.
Okay, well, she's going to have to look.
Right now, because it's right here on the shelf, I'm pretty sure. No, it's on DVD.
Wah, wah.
Sorry.
Okay.
It's the 40-year whatever. I do love that movie, though. I'm happy to watch it with you anytime.
Good. When it hit Netflix about maybe a year and a half ago, I was like, Mom, Willy Wonka's on here. And she's like, oh. And Netflix starts to play the movie before it like fully plays. Like you're going through them and it starts playing them. It started to play. We just kind of sat there and watched the whole thing. We're like, I guess we should have dinner now. We just watched the whole movie and didn't get up. So I like that movie quite a bit. Goonies is a fun adventure movie. I think if you're the right age, I think every kid wanted to go on one of those adventures. In reality, all you did is ride your bike down the street and come home.
Actually, it's funny. I saw the Goonies a little late. Like I was a little old for it when I saw it the first time, but I still loved it. It was still like, it's kind of because it helps you recapture that, Yeah.
It pisses me off, not because I take it too personally, but when people are like, the Goonies is a shit movie and it's always been a shit movie, I'm like, no, it's not a shit movie. It's never always been a shit movie. It's a kid thing. Just people on the internet that are trying to be contrarian.
Oh.
Like the Goonies is great because without that, you wouldn't have Stranger Things. You wouldn't have, and I guess it came out technically in 1986, the book.
The book, yeah. But I mean, the Goonies really, it did though. The Goonies really created that, like because it became so nostalgic for so many people that everyone who makes an 80s movie with kids wants to recapture that.
Now, have you ever? I was just about to say, have you ever seen the Monster Squad, which is a very poor interpretation? I can't even think of the word I'm trying to say. No. Imitation of the Goonies. It's a good movie in its own right, but it wants to be the Goonies so bad that it actually comes off kind of embarrassing. We'll watch it. It's on Hulu. I actually like the movie quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's but the Goonies is a great movie. And Lethal Weapon, I like Lethal Weapon 2, not Lethal Weapon 1. So Hammer, I'm seeing the chat right now, but. No, Goonies is just a very important movie to me. A lot of fun. Watch it. It's on my phone. And I know this is a very corny thing to say, but I got a lot of Blu-ray rips. And if I keep it on my phone, it means I want to watch it at any time. And the Goonies made that list. And then Dumb and Dumber, like I said to you last night on the stream, it was the first movie I saw more than 20 times. Because I caught it before Back to the Future, I'm pretty sure. Let's just put that out there. But I think I watched Dumb and Dumber more because I would watch it and rewind it. I thought it was the funniest thing ever. And that was like the first grown-up movie that I watched that my mom bought for me and was like cool with, you know. And then I got into other stuff. But yeah, my 10, those 3 movies, it's hard because, you know, I'm looking at the list, or I'm looking at this list, I'm looking at my shelf. I got movies like Halloween that are important to me. You know, some movies, like I really like Trading Places, that could make a top 25 list. And folks out there that are watching, like I intentionally didn't put James Bond movies and I didn't put Spider-Man or any superhero movie because I don't feel like it's a fair, I don't know, it colors my list in a way that I don't want to talk about. And then also too, like I love vacation movies and stuff like that. So, and then animation would be on there too. I just took certain things out so I could give more of a, because it's like, oh, what's next? Empire Strikes Back, GoldenEye, For Your Eyes Only. Like it's a boring list. It doesn't add to a good show. So,
wow.
But yeah, we're gonna watch the Monster Squad.
Yeah.
It's so hokey. They kick the Wolfman in the balls, and he goes, "The Wolfman's got nards." And then there's a part 2 where the dad gets involved, and he's a police officer, and he's trying to kill Dracula, who had just turned into back into the bat, and he shot him mid-transformation, and he's getting ready to kill him, and the Wolfman comes to save Dracula, and he has this stick of dynamite, and he doesn't know what to do with it. So he puts the stick of dynamite in the Wolfman's pants and kicks him out the window, and the Wolfman explodes into a million pieces. It's awesome.
That sounds hilarious.
So it's corny as shit, and the effects don't hold up at all.
Some of my honorable mentions, which a lot of people would consider, that's people out there like, what's your guilty pleasure movie? Like, I don't feel guilty about the movies that I love. Because like some of my honorable mentions are like Van Helsing, Batman Forever.
I love Batman Forever.
Definitely make honorable mention list. Have you ever seen Van Helsing?
Back when it hit DVD in like 2005-ish.
It's so stupid good. I love it.
Detroit Rock City is a movie that would be under a guilty pleasure, but I fucking love that movie. I like Kiss the band, but that movie I might watch that tonight. Shit.
There's other things for me like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are Dead, which like I love the film adaptation. It's really my favorite play. And I love the play. I love reading it, and I want to like adapt it at some point, make my own version of all that kind of stuff. I really enjoy it. And the movie version does a great job, and Tom Stoppard directs it.
Who?
Tom Stoppard, he's the guy who wrote the play.
Oh.
And it's just a beautiful adaptation, but it's like it's up there for me, definitely. Funny Games is actually high on my list too, which you said you have not seen.
That's a horror movie, right?
Yeah, but it's sort of like a deconstruction of a horror movie at the same time.
Is there a French version, an American, or an English version?
American, and the American version is the shot-for-shot remake from the German.
I feel like I may have seen the German one on Netflix, like turned it on. So
the American one is Tim Roth and what's her face? I
love her. She's so great in that thing you saw last week.
Fuck you. And the Michael Pitt's one of the bad guys. Dustin Rogers says, "Do you remember Tom Cruise in Fantasy? I always say he was, what?
Okay, sorry.
I always say he was Link from Zelda. He had a fairy friend and fought evil.
Legend. Ridley Scott.
That's the Ridley Scott one that I haven't seen that everyone says is really good.
Thank you, Amateur Night, for showing some love to Detroit Rock City.
But thank you, Dustin Rogers, for the super chat.
Oh, of course. I'm going to bring Detroit Rock City out. I want you to watch with me. It's very simple. It takes place over.
Just forgot. I think the movie was Legend. Yes. All right. Still need to watch that.
Tim Curry's the devil.
Tim Curry is always the devil. He scares me.
He's great. Oh, again, we're going to watch It, the original.
Okay.
I don't know if I told you this, but I showed my mom a clip, like a funny scene from it, and she got really uncomfortable.
Because Tim Curry's terrifying.
Excuse me, sir. Do you have Prince Albert in a can? you got to watch it with me. It's so fun.
Tim Curry is just terrifying.
I like him in the first movie I ever saw him in was Home Alone 2.
Aw.
And so I think of him as that shitty hotel manager, whatever he was. I love you.
Oh God, that I do love him in that. That's one of my favorite parts. That's one of my favorite Tim Curry movies. Is just Home Alone 2. Also, like I might like Home Alone 2 better than 1.
I don't, but I'm unlike Die Hard 2, which I hate after a first movie that I really enjoy. Home Alone 2 is fine.
I think for me, Home Alone 2 is just like the stakes feel higher because he's a kid in an unfamiliar territory. So there's so many different things. Like at least in Home Alone 1, he's on his own turf, you know, and it's like he has some advantage because of that, and he obviously exploits that advantage. But then the fact that he's like, the fact that he's kind of on his own is what I guess intrigues me more.
I guess technically I have this Home Alone box set. It came in a tin can. It's got every movie in it. So
I don't think I ever saw past 2.
okay, a guilty pleasure, a legitimate guilty pleasure, a movie that I like that I know is terrible and I'm embarrassed to talk about is Home Alone 3. Because when I was a kid, I told you I had a stepdad as a truck driver, and he bought us a TV for the truck. We were going across the country to California. We were going to hit all these different states. And they're like, oh, we'll get a TV for the back of the truck. We can watch movies, bring all your videotapes. And so we went to this store, H.H. Gregg. I don't know if that's a nationwide chain or whatever, but we went to H.H. Gregg and got this TV. And he's like, the guy's like, trying to sell him this TV on commission. He goes, look, I'll pay this price if you give me 2 free movies. So he let me pick one out, and then he picked out one for him and my mom. And I picked out Home Alone 3 because I had just seen the commercial for it on TV. And I watched that movie so much as a kid. I acknowledge it's not good. It's actually a pretty poorly made movie, but I have great memories of it. And that is when I first fell in love with Scarlett Johansson. So
I'm trying to think if there's a movie for me.
I didn't say I hate Die Hard. I said I hate Die Hard 2. Die Hard was on my list of favorite movies, dude. That was
that's number 3. Yeah. So wait, have I seen every movie on your list?
No. Have you? Probably, yeah.
I think I have. And my list, you haven't seen Lord of the Rings. You haven't seen Casablanca.
No.
I think that was it, right?
Yeah, because I've seen Point Break, I've seen The Godfather, I've seen Dirty Dancing, I've seen Gladiator, obviously Star Wars, Mission Impossible,
Princess Bride, Mission Impossible 2, yeah.
I'm surprised at how much of our list we both enjoy. Like there's really, I can't say Lord of the Rings because I've never seen it, so don't get all scared. I may like it, I won't lie to you, but I could like this movie. Who knows? But honestly, our lists are like pretty. Like, if we had to sit down and watch 20 movies together, it would only be 19 because we have one crossover. I'd be completely fine with that. Like, I wouldn't get pissed off and like, I gotta watch this shit. No, it sounds good. And you had Indiana Jones on there, the whole trilogy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I would watch everything on your list. Cool.
I think we've actually watched a few of them together already.
Yeah.
We watched Star Wars when I was sick. I had Beetlejuice on.
Yeah, I still have to go back and rewatch it because I was watching it. I realized how little I remember from it. So.
No, we can watch that together. It's a favorite, as you know. There's a Beetlejuice action figure that came out when we were in high school, and I was gonna buy it, and I didn't because I was like, I'll get it later. And now it's worth like $200, and I'm not gonna spend $200 on it. It was only like $13 back in the day, so I kick myself all the time that I didn't buy it.
Womp womp.
I know. They never made another one.
I'm trying to think if there's any movies for me where I'm like, this movie was bad, but I love it.
The Room. That's how I am. I know that's how I feel about The Room as well.
I hate The Room.
Oh, I know.
Movie is. I mean, like Sex Drive. I mean, it's not bad. I just think it's really funny. But I fucking love that movie. I love that movie.
I guess you feel about Sex Drive the way I feel about Euro Trip.
The what?
You feel about Sex Drive the way I feel about Euro Trip.
I like Euro Trip. Euro Trip's fine.
I love Euro Trip.
Might make you watch Sex Drive again.
Can we not watch the unrated cut though?
We don't have to watch the unrated cut. I actually think the regular cut's better. There's like 1 or 2 jokes I like better in the unrated, but for the most part, I don't need to see naked people walking around. But I don't think that's not like a bad movie. It's just like I also love Mean Girls, which is also an excellent movie. Like I like a lot of chick flicks.
That's fine. As you always say, you're allowed to.
I'm just trying to think if there's any movie that's like truly terrible that I'm like, I fucking love this movie. I don't care.
Somebody says Sex Drive was stupid, but so was Road Trip. I love Road Trip. That's such a dumb movie.
Sex Drive, one of the reasons I love Sex Drive is because it was a parody of the road trip genre, and the road trip genre is already a parody of life. So it's like this, what?
Have you ever seen Rat Race?
Yeah.
I love that movie.
I haven't seen that one in ages, but I saw Once Upon a Time. No, Kubrick doesn't make my list. I do love Clockwork Orange, and other things by him as well.
I like The Shining, and
like The Shining. I still haven't seen Lolita, but I read the book. It just makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah, I don't need to.
It's disturbing.
Yeah, I don't intentionally not watch like critically lauded films. I just if I experience them, I experience them, like The French Connection. I thought that was an awesome.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, I caught that later though. Like, I really like movies from the 70s. Remember how we talked about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood after Sharon Tate was murdered in real life, how Hollywood kind of took a step back and started doing like that kind of movie.
Well,
like,
it was sort of the end of the '60s in Hollywood.
but you know, the 70s was a lot of darker stuff, and then Star Wars came out and changed it all for the 80s. I like a lot of those 70s movies. I just don't talk about them because they're not interesting for the channels. Nobody really gives a shit about Popeye Doyle.
That class I took was the moving image in college. My favorite class, and one of my favorite classes in college, the moving image history of the 1970s, and we just watched a fuck ton of 70s film. I really think that the 70s are was the best decade for cinema, partially because of the number of genres that were just created during that time. I mean, like, it created the genre film in general, and how much changed during that time. Everything that Hollywood does today is because they're trying to hold on to that incredible success that happened in the 70s when Hollywood forgot is that the whole reason that success existed was because of the innovations that were done in the 70s and the fact that these filmmakers were willing to take risks, and that studios took risks on filmmakers.
I'd say the 80s is the best decade for pop culture overall. Like, I think the big hitters of the 70s.
For 70s, because the 70s was not just pop culture. It was everything. It was every level of filmmaking. It was pop culture. It was sci-fi. It was monster movies.
No, I meant pop culture. Like, I was literally saying movies, TV, film, everything.
I mean, like French New Wave and cinema verite being incorporated as a non-documentary style storytelling, and like
those are type. Look at that; those are my type of films.
They're not necessarily my type either, but they still had a profound impact in the landscape of cinema.
I'm just saying, though, you talked about the 70s, how they're trying to recapture that. I would argue that Hollywood's still trying to capture the success of the 80s because they're trying to milk it. Like, they want to go back to create that. Because think of how many. I know this is more of a superficial
every mob movie. The codification for how to make a mob movie was. I mean, there have been gangster movies before The Godfather, right? The Godfather set the standard for the mob movie, and every mob movie since then is chasing that high. Jaws created how many killer shark films have we had since Jaws?
Too many.
That's an entire genre.
Too many.
Killer shark is an entire genre because of Jaws.
But that's also the decade too, where more things were adaptations than original creations, which doesn't knock it. Yeah, I'm not knocking it, but
more things. There were plenty of adaptations. I would not argue that more.
The two things the two examples you gave were both adaptations of books. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, and I'm knocking it at all. I'm just saying
Jaws was a book.
Peter Benchley wrote Jaws years before it was ever a movie.
It was based on a true event.
Yeah, but the book Peter Benchley wrote it. Yeah, it's
sure, but like The French Connection was not. The Godfather was based on a book, but
Mario Puzo.
Star Wars was not based on a book.
True. I was
Now was not based on a book, which is another incredible film that came out.
Now, I thought it was based on Into the Heart of Darkness. Isn't that a book?
It's not really. Have you ever read Heart of Darkness?
No, I just thought it was always based on that.
No. So the thing is Heart of Darkness, it predates Vietnam by a lot. It's not about Vietnam. It's about going to the Congo. And the idea, you can't really say Apocalypse Now is based on Heart of Darkness.
I just thought the movie itself said it.
It does, but it's not. Like, it's not like the idea of the journey is like the only thing that's based on it is the idea of taking a journey down a river on a boat, is the dark elements of human nature and this weird Messiah-like character they find at the end of the river. That's it. The Heart of Darkness is almost a poem in the way it's written. It's very, like, I actually wouldn't have understood what the fuck was going on in Heart of Darkness having not seen Apocalypse Now. It's very prosaic and flowery and all this. And so it inspired it, but it's not like you really can't call it an adaptation. And what makes
what it says
special has nothing to do with the book. Like, it's not adapted from that the way that Jaws was adapted from a book, or the way that The Godfather was adapted from Puzo, or like any of that. It's not. But all those things, you had Last Tango in Paris, was another huge film.
Brando?
Yeah.
I thought that was the 80s.
pretty sure Last Night in Paris was the end of the 70s. It was like 79.
I'll look it up. I thought that was a 1980s movie because that woman's dead.
Okay.
Oh, 1972. I was wrong. I think what's the movie he's in?
1972. Okay, it was earlier than that. Yeah, I knew it was the 70s, so I watched it for that.
I guess I didn't realize how shitty he looked in that movie because I thought like, oh, 80s Marlon Brando looked that rough. Because I think of Godfather.
I'm going to put it out there also. If you have not actually read Heart of Darkness, you have no leg to stand on talking about it as an adaptation because it's really not the same. Like, if you want to try to make the argument it was based on or was not or whatnot, you have to fucking read Heart of Darkness first before your opinion has weight because it's not the same. It's not. Like, the Will Smith I Am Legend is more closely based on the book than Apocalypse Now is on Heart of Darkness, and Will Smith's I Am Legend had nothing to do with the book. So,
because isn't it based off of what's his name, Richard? It's I Am Legend is based off whatchamacallit. Oh God, I can't think of it. The guy that would work on Twilight Zone.
Richard Matheson.
Yeah, I Am Legend.
It's based on the book I Am Legend by Richard Matheson.
Oh, I thought you were saying I Am Legend's based off Heart of Darkness. I'm like, what are you talking about? I was thrown off for a minute.
I'm saying that the Will Smith I Am Legend has more to do with the book I Am Legend than Apocalypse Now has to do with Heart of Darkness, and that movie had nothing to do with the book. Yeah, Tyler Coverdale's inspired by is the correct term.
So it's like when you get a soundtrack, songs from and inspired by Batman Forever.
There you go. And it's not, and that's. Yeah.
Look, I've seen Apocalypse Now maybe once, and that was a couple years ago. I think I saw, was it Redux?
Yeah.
No? Okay. I don't put it like this. If you look at the AFI's top 100 films, maybe I've seen half of them. Maybe I'm not interested in them, though. What I like in a film is much different. But I also want to stress the point that just because I'm not into it, this isn't geared at you, doesn't mean I don't understand it. A lot of people will look at, this isn't, like I said, this isn't geared towards you, but a lot of people look at someone's list and they go, oh, well, this is real art, and this is saying this about the human condition, and this and that's. Like, I get that, but it's not my favorite.
But that's like Citizen Kane,
No, I refuse to watch that one, actually.
It's fine. You can see why it was groundbreaking cinematographically. You can see, the storytelling elements and how good it was and all that great stuff, and I just don't care for it. I will never be like, you need to watch it. I just don't care for it. Yeah. I'll find you this list from that class. I know I still have it somewhere, but it was the checklist of like the 1970s movies from this particular class. And you don't even realize what Taxi Driver.
Seen it.
Streets,
great movie.
What else was I just thinking of? Logan's Run.
I just saw that this year for the first time. I wouldn't call it great, but it was fun.
It's a dated film, but it was important for sci-fi.
Didn't Star Wars come? Isn't Logan's Run 76? Oh, Rocky's great.
Rocky came out in the story. 70s, Dog Day Afternoon.
Mm-hmm. Seen it.
Orange.
Seen it.
The Deer Hunter. And so a lot, because it was just at the end of the conflict, a lot of these incredible Vietnam films came out at the time. Chinatown, Saturday Night Fever,
Do you like that movie?
What?
You like Saturday Night Fever?
I've seen it. It's fine. It's one of those ones, like, I understand its importance. I don't care for it.
That's a movie that I can never understand. Something fell. If I realize if I like it or hate it. Like, I don't hate it, but like sometimes I'm like, oh, I really like this. I get what it's about. And then there are times where I'm like, I just don't care.
Deliverance came out in the 70s. You ever see that?
Many a time. I think the movie's pretty funny, actually.
It's fun. All the President's Men was the 70s.
That was a great movie. I just saw that this year.
Serpico, Five Easy Pieces, The Last
Serpico's a great movie.
American Graffiti.
Never seen it.
Network was then.
Yep.
Badlands.
Never seen it.
You can just Cabaret.
I don't like Liza Minnelli.
I'm fine with Cabaret. It's not like Close Encounters, Annie Hall, MASH. The Conversation.
That's a great movie. Harrison Ford's in it.
And he wasn't supposed to be as important as he was. His character was going to be completely irrelevant. He's a kind of pivotal part in that film. His character was supposed to be completely irrelevant, and there was something sinister about the way he just brought it that they actually during production wrote his role bigger because of that, made him that pivotal character.
I see. All these 70s movies are ones I've discovered on my own through Netflix, where it's like, oh, I heard about these. Sure. So I sat down and gave them the time, and I'm like, these were all great.
There you go. Another one of your tops, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
That was a failure of a film, though.
True, but it was still a great movie.
Mhm.
It's a dirt. Oh, of course, Mad Max.
I don't like the first one as much as I like the second one.
I don't care about the old ones that much.
Wait, you only care about Fury Road?
I just part of it is I mean, they were never that big of a deal for me. Like I think Fury Road was the first time I saw a Mad Max film and was like, I truly, really like this movie.
I hate Beyond Thunderdome.
I don't even know if I saw Beyond Thunderdome.
Have you seen the Evil Dead movies from the 80s? At least the first two.
I haven't seen them all the way start to finish. I've seen a lot of scenes from them, and I've seen different parts of them. You know,
we're gonna watch Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness together, but never the first one.
That's fine. I've never liked Mel Gibson, so it was just as you know, whatever his Mad Max is, I hate Mel Gibson.
So like, it's gonna be a problem if you catch me watching Lethal Weapon 2 all the time.
It's not gonna be a problem. I just don't like him. I have a hard time now. It's like I never cared for him a ton growing up. There were movies he was in that I was fine with, that I liked. I mean, I liked Braveheart. I did like Braveheart. And there was some stuff he was in. There were some things he was in that was fine, you know. But then he just, especially after all the anti-Semitism stuff, it's just very difficult for me to watch him. So it's hard. Like it's tough being like, oh, you think that the Holocaust was a lie and that all my people deserved it. So it's just it's a little challenge. Like usually I don't care. I don't care what political leanings my actors have or stuff like that. If you know, just because an actor's in a movie, I don't like that actor, I'm not going to see or not see a movie. There's something just about Mel Gibson and all of that stuff that just viscerally turns me off and just, yeah. So that's all.
All right.
It's tough, Dr. Cobb. So that's the reality. Is outside of like Braveheart, you know, Mel Gibson never did anything that's culturally important enough for me to do that. I hate that he's the voice of John Smith in Pocahontas.
I hate Pocahontas. I fucking hate that movie with a passion.
I love that movie.
My grandma bought it for me as a kid, and I was like, Grandma, don't buy me more Disney movies. I hated it. She would buy them for me the first day they would come out. God damn it.
I love the music in that one. So good.
I just don't care. Like, I loved Lion King, Aladdin. We talked about the Aristocats. That was fun. No, Pocahontas. Mulan was okay. I saw that in theaters. I thought that looked cool, but I hated Hercules. So
Mulan was great. I didn't like Hercules that much when I was younger. It's grown. I mean, like I said, this is the drinking game. We'll play the drinking game and you'll appreciate it.
I'm sure I'll appreciate any drinking game.
Hercules is also one that I like a lot better now that I'm older, too.
Fair enough. I just could never. I saw it in theaters, and I was so excited because I thought the design looked cool, and I like, you know, mythology. And nope, I would rather watch. I've never even seen the Rock's Hercules movie, which I don't want to because it looks stupid. But
I didn't see that. Oh my God, Dustin Rogers, thank you this year. That says Crocodile Dundee, best movie ever. Changed my mind. Joking, but a fun movie that had a few lines I never forget.
That's not a knife. This
is a knife.
Hey. Yep. Carl Winslow's in that one as well. He's the driver for Crocodile Dundee.
Hooray.
Reginald Vell Johnson played an important part in popular culture.
Mm-hmm.
So, anything else we want to cover? This was, like I said, the most fun I've ever had on a stream with you.
This was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the fuck out of it. It was a really good
your idea, too.
I know. I'm such a genius. Fuck you.
Jury's out.
Screw you.
What movie is that from? The Avengers.
Okay, like that's just the thing I say. Like that's just like.
Oh, I only say it because of Iron Man.
You can't really say that it's like a line from a movie. That's like a colloquialism.
Well, excuse me, princess.
It's not from a movie. Oh my God! Don't start with that.
You know what that's from?
Yes, I do. My friend once sat me down and made me watch a YouTube montage of every single time he says it. I was like, why are we watching this? Well, excuse me, princess. Well, excuse me, princess. I'm like, why?
Oh, man, I can't wait to be like laying in bed. We're talking about something. You're like, yeah, I know. I'm like, well, excuse me, princess. I'll get up in your face and make this face.
I'm trying to think, does Does Han ever actually say that in Star Wars? He says stuff that's relational to it that always makes me think of that.
I'm not quoting Star Wars. I'm quoting.
No, I know you're not. I know you're not. I know you're not. I know what it's from. Like I said, somebody sat me down and made me watch a fucking montage of all of it.
I think he might actually say that in the first one.
But that's what I'm trying to think of because I know there's something he says that sounds similar.
Excuse me, your worshipfulness. I had everything under control until you let us.
Yeah, it's when he says that. Excuse me, your worshipfulness. I always think of "Excuse me, princess." He might say it. He might say it somewhere else. There might be another one. I was like, "Well, excuse me, princess," but for whatever there's something he says in a couple times.
The Empire goes, "Yes, your highnessness," in the very beginning when they first meet in the hallway, and then I'm trying to think what else he says to her like that, because she goes, "Will you stop that?" And he goes, "Yeah, Leia," and then he never does it again.
Leia, and then he's done. I like that little pause when he says "sure" and Leia. He's like, "Sure, Leia. I'll say your name." I'm not going to say your name because I totally have a crush on you, and saying your name reminds me that I have a crush on you.
Okay, Jessi.
All right, Jeff.
Give me that Josh Hutcherson face over there. I love that. That's just a running joke we have now. I hope to meet him one day. Said, "Here's my girlfriend, Jessi Mosso."
Dennis! Dennis, I love you, Dennis!
That is a movie I saw and did not like.
I read all the books. I loved the books. Oh, God, I love the books. The movies were fun.
The reason I didn't like the first one is because the way it was edited in the beginning. Like, it was like every 4 seconds it would like cut and it was all shaky. I was like, this movie's bothering me to watch. So it's like when people got sick in the Blair Witch Project. I didn't get sick, so I don't care about that. But the Hunger Games, I was like, this just bothers me the way.
Did you ever see the Blair Witch Project 2?
You mean Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2? With Jeffrey Donovan, a.k.a. Michael Weston from Burn Notice? Yes, I have. It's terrible.
It's hilarious. That might be a good... I've only watched it the one time, but that's a fucking terrible movie that I think is absolutely hysterical.
And want me to get Nick to download us a copy from Milwaukee?
No.
All right.
No. Anyway. All right. We should probably say goodbye to our audience.
If we have to.
We can keep going.
I'm joking. I got shit to do.
I got shit to do. I ain't making that crowd class that started 10 minutes ago.
Oh, damn. Well. All right, folks. We should take a road trip to Maryland.
Okay.
Wait. Angelus Draven thinks that Blair Witch 2 is on Amazon. Let me look real quick.
Oh, God.
Because if it is, I know we're going to do when we get drunk on Boozers. Not watch that.
Not watch that.
You know what movie I watched the other day was called Disturbing Behavior? It was like one of those post-Scream 90s like teen horror movies. It had James Marsden and Katie Holmes.
I love James
Nick
Marsden.
Stahl. It was fucking terrible.
Sorry.
Blair Witch Project 2. Not available on Prime, no.
Womp.
Only if I have stars.
Dude, okay. There's a movie called Stakeland.
AKE or EAK?
AKE.
Okay.
It's on Netflix, or was. My friend, when I was hanging out with Torrent and we decided to watch a movie, we couldn't decide what to watch. So we went through and found all the cool shark scenes from 47 Meters Down and then decided to
God, the poster's garbage. I've seen this on Netflix before.
Yeah, it looks stupid as fuck. So like, this looks like a great bad movie because it's set up as this father-son post-apocalyptic vampire movie.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Oh, thank you, Dr. Coffin Nails. You're like, what the actual fuck? And then so we watched it and we're like, oh my God, this is a good movie. It's actually really good.
Ooh, it's got Danielle Harris and Kelly McGillis.
It's a really good movie. Horrorama says Stakeland is legit. It is. It's so legit. It's a really well-told story. It's a lot of fun. It's a good vampire movie.
Well, it's not on any service I have, so... Wait.
Oh, it's not on Netflix anymore?
No, it's not, but it's on Prime.
Oh?
I'll add to my watch list. There we go.
Hey. Oh, that's a weird movie that you've probably never even heard of. That's like a guilty pleasure. I haven't watched it in ages and ages and ages, but it was a guilty pleasure watch for me. It's called Alone in the Dark.
I know Alone in the Dark. It's based off a video game.
Yeah, with Christian. It has Christian Slater in it.
Yeah, Uwe Boll, I think, that made it.
And it's bad, but I love it for reasons. My friend and I just randomly picked it up off a shelf once. We had this habit of just picking movies up off a shelf. That's how we both saw Lost Boys when we were like 13 or 14 or something.
Great movie.
And honestly, like, didn't know anything about it.
That's a top 25er for me.
It's a great movie. But yeah, because we just picked it up off the shelf randomly. But we did that with Alone in the Dark, and it was
not good.
It was not good, but it was entertaining anyway. So, all right, we're going now, right?
Yeah, you make the call. It's your channel.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for being here. It was a delight. It was a pleasure. We will see you not next Wednesday because we are both preparing for.
I'll be in Milwaukee.
You'll be in Milwaukee at that point. I will be getting ready for Milwaukee. You'll have your podcast instead. So maybe you'll get a special edition of World Class Entertainment while we're in Milwaukee. Maybe you won't.
We have I forgot we have a different name when we're together.
We do.
So we have to tell the people mindless bullshit will eventually die because come January we live together and it'll always be
World Class Entertainment. We could always do it from like one of us on the couch and one of us on the bed. We can just do it that way.
Remember though, the echo picks up on each other's mics.
That's true.
We'll just lay on the couch where you wear a black t-shirt and I'll look like I'm holding your severed head.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe World Class Entertainment will be from the bed and mindless bullshit will be from the couch.
Our brand new couch?
Our brand new futon.
I'm down.
Sounds good.
All right, folks.
All right. It's been great. You guys live or don't. It's fine.
Preferably live so you come back next time and watch.
That would be cool, I guess. Yeah, Dr. Coffindale says, are you moving to California, Jeff? Yes. That's happening.
But I'm still going to do Horror Hound in Indianapolis, so don't worry. I think I might bring Jessi with me if she wants.
I'll go. I'm down.
The guys will be like, this is a guy trip. I'll be like, no, WrestleMania is the guy trip.
They all like me, though.
That's true.
Like, I don't think it's an issue. Dion will be like, this is a guy trip, because he'll be like, I don't want to stare at your hot girlfriend while I'm trying to forget my life.
He'll try to look at your butt when you're sleeping.
When I'm sleeping?
Yeah. You usually sleep. If I sleep like on my back, you usually sleep on me. So.
Are we going to be sleeping in the same room as Dion?
For Horror Hound, because of how expensive all this shit is, I usually just get us all one room.
For 4 of you?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm not coming. There is not room for me in a room with the 4 of you.
You sleep on the bed with me.
And someone sleeps on the floor?
Yeah, we don't share beds. No. I take a bed because I pay for everything. Kendo took the bed this time. Nick brings this thing, and Late brought an air mattress.
Okay.
Just go next year. We'll work it out. We usually get an Airbnb for the Cincinnati show, so maybe we'll find something in Indianapolis.
It's not the packing a bunch of people in one room that I'm worried about, Angelus Draven. That's not what I'm so concerned about. I just don't need to.
I know what you want. It's fine.
Not have sex with you. So
we'll
Munchkin.
We'll get our own room if that's the case, if you're worried about that. If you can't do it in front of Nick, well, then fine.
I really don't want to do it in front of Dion, honestly, more than anybody else.
Because he would watch.
Kendall would be like, I'm going to go hide in the bathroom. Nick will be like, I'm going to stare at the wall with my headphones. And Dion would be like, keep going, guys. Like,
I actually we'd have to get our own room because I wouldn't want to with them around.
Smush. Come back, Smush. I love you, Smush. Mwah. Why are you all wet? Is your brother give you a bath? Yes. I love you, Smush. Mwah. You're not snuffing. You're not so snuffly today. Is it because I dug all the poop out of your ears? Because I dug it all out of your earth? Out of your earth. Come here, Smush. I love you, Smush. I love you too, baby cat. You just don't come over here so I can't pat you.
What you should do is get one of those signs that I have. Dr. Coffin knows what they are. They're those retractable banners. Get yourself a Mindless Entertainment one. They're only $80 when you get them on Vistaprint on the special.
Okay.
They're cool. They're very nice. They're very easy too. Because we used to do when I would sell art, I would set up all this elaborate shit to try to sell art. Nowadays, it's just voop voop. You're done. Put a sock and chain on the door. You know what? I'd rather just spend the money and get a separate room.
I love snuffs.
He's just like looking away every time. He's like looking like every time you kiss him. He's just like.
I love you, snuffs.
We're still live.
I know.
Okay.
I'm aware. This is what I do on my live streams.
I was on it with you. I was up with you till 5 a.m, Jessi. I know what's up.
Don't you love snuffs?
I do. Isn't that Jane? Or is that Mal? That's Mal. I can see the eyebrows.
It's snuffs. Mal is snuffs.
You never explained. You said there's snuffs and sniffs a lot or something like that.
No, there's Sir Snuffs a lot. Which
Okay.
is Mal because he snuffs. Because he's like, he makes the sniffies. He's always got snuffles. He's my snuffleupagus.
He's a little too small to be Snuffleupagus.
Yeah.
I used to love that show as a kid.
He's not snuffing right now, though. And then Jane is Snugs, because he loves to snuggle with you. So he's Sir Snugs a lot. And then Lando drools in my eyes, so he's Sir Spits a lot. He was the first one. He was Sir Spits a lot. And then Hana's retarded, so he's Sir Splash a lot, because he's Splash.
Even on the phone when you call your cat that, I'm just like, aw.
Snuffs. The way you say aw is so adorable.
Me? Oh, I didn't know.
It just is. I think it's adorable.
Oh, thank you.
Snuffs. I can't turn off the stream now because I have to let go of Snuffs.
All right, then let's start a new stream. What's our new topic?
Snuffs.
All right, snuff films. Okay, Google. List of snuff films.
No. No.
Ooh, how about this list of banned films according to Wikipedia?
Oh.
Let's see. Let's see. Films that are banned. Oh shit! That doesn't tell you. That's just date. Ben-Hur is banned in the Arab League nations.
Yeah, because is that because someone actually died in the and they left that in? Or is it because the
because actress Heya Harahit was Israeli.
Oh.
It's also banned in mainland China.
That's fair.
Exodus, Wonder Woman is banned.
Snuffs is gone. I can.
Oh, okay. I mean,
So when Lando gets overweight, his nickname is Chubbs.
Oh, Chubbs, like the golfer.
Like fat.
I know. I just really like Happy Gilmore.
Okay. All right. Goodbye, world. Thank you for being here. Hasta la vista. Auf Wiedersehen.
Be excellent to each other.
Do that thing.
We're ready to believe you. Roads, where we're going, we don't need roads.